Yeah, and hello everyone. Um, welcome to K-12 2030 Global Education Conference. So we are going to take the next few minutes to welcome our participants who are joining across the globe. Yeah, Samuel Adeshida, I see you. I see you. Thank you for joining. So my name is Adebayo. Alomaja. Adebayo Lomaja is my name, and I am the head of research and learning design at EAZY-DIGI. EAZY-DIGI is an education consulting firm that uses research, technology, and networking to transform education in Africa. Networking as a critical part of what we work with is why we have this conference. We believe this is going to be an opportunity to connect educators across the globe with the latest innovations in the world of K to 12. So once again, my name is Adebayo. I will be your host, and I am so glad that finally we are live. Yes, so Zachariah Dauda. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name well, but I see you. You're joining us from LinkedIn. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Um, yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing part of your time with us. So, real quick, so we get this started. The world is a global village, right? We know that there are really no more borders. Technology has broken down the borders. So please let us know where you're joining us from. Um, if you teach a particular subject, let us know the subject you teach. Let's just get to know you on a closer level. Um, the country you're joining from, and also your level as an educator. Um, that will be so helpful. One of the goal of this conference is to provide networking opportunity, right? It's a time to network. It's a time to meet other educators across the globe. You know, get to see what is happening. This is a time to take what you're doing in your space to the next level. And one of the things you can do to make that happen is through networking, right? So again, we're going to take the next few minutes, to meet our participants that are joining. And then to also network. So Samuel Adeshida, this is a good time to network with Zachariah. I see she's joining from LinkedIn too as well. So that's the idea. The world is a global village, and we understand um, that technology has made it so easy for us to reach ourselves more than ever. The world is increasingly become more and more interconnected, right? So we need to leverage on platforms like this. Yeah, Jeff Boston, thank you so much for joining. It is an honor to have you here. From South Carolina, USA. Yeah, I coach it exactly. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for joining. Jeff Boston is an agile um is a coach on on agile. I've listened to Jeff before. Amazing. Thank you, Jeff, for joining. It's good to have you here. It's good to have you here. Again, so we are taking the next few minutes to receive participants who are joining us, and before we move into the first session for today. um Zechariah says I'm joining from Sokoto. Says, oh, Nigeria. Yes. Yeah, so the host of this conference is from Nigeria, actually. So I'm excited to see my Nigerian friends. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Inkechi OK says, I teach you economics, food and nutrition, catering craft, joining from Lagos. Thank you, Ikechi. Thumbs up for you. Thank you for joining the conference. So good to see you here. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Zachariah, for attending all the way from Sokoto State, right? You teach basic science. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to have you here. Awesome profile there. Awesome profile there. Right. So please keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming, please, dear participants. Please keep it coming. Keep it coming. We are going to move into the first session briefly. So Mary Rose Uda says, I'm joining from Lagos. I'm an early year educator. Yeah, thank you so much, Mary Rose. Thank you for joining the conference. Thank you for joining the conference. Let me quickly say this, that this conference is an avenue for you to expand your network. If you're joining us from LinkedIn, it's a great avenue to grow your network, right? You see everyone in the chat box. It's okay to begin to follow them and to begin to connect with them because they are doing great things in their various spheres, right? So everyone is doing great things everywhere, and this kind of conference, from the word conference, coming together and trying to pull those things together as well. amongst the other things that you get to see and even learn from today. So please keep it going. Temitayo Gideon, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us. Tell us where you're joining from. Tell us what you teach. You in the K to 12 space. Tell us what you do. We would like to meet you. Thank you, and thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Yeah. Again, just like I said, you don't want to miss anyone in the chat box. You don't want to miss anyone in the thread. Make sure you connect with everyone right there in the thread. Make sure you connect with everyone right there in the thread. James Elesomi, thank you for joining from Lagos. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you. Um, yeah. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, James. It's good to have you here. Thank you, and thank you so much to everyone that's listening right now. I want to believe that you are networking. Every moment in this conference is very important. This is intentional, right? So, this is very, very intentional. Rachel, thank you for joining from Lagos. Rachel is an early year educator. Thank you, Rachel, for joining. Thank you for joining. I think I saw someone again that was an early year educator earlier on. You don't want to miss that person. This is the time to connect with that person, right? So you guys can do great things together. Yeah, that's one of the. This is how we grow. This is how we grow. We grow by networking. We grow by networking. Thank you, Rachel, for joining. Yeah, Afolabi, yeah, Afolabi, boss, thumbs up for you. Right, so thank you, Afolabi. Thank you for joining. Afolabi is joining us from Lagos. It's good to have you here. It's good to see you in this conference. I am so excited, right? Hi guys, you don't want to miss Afolabi. You want to connect with Afolabi right away. Afolabi is an amazing educator doing great things in Lagos, in Nigeria. Like I said, we have many educators doing great things, and this is an opportunity again for you to grow your network. For not just growing your network, you're meeting the right people, right? In this kind of conference, right? Just imagine as if it were a physical conference, so you are meeting the right people, right? You're meeting the right people who are disrupting, who are innovating, and doing great things in the K to 12 space, right? So don't miss this opportunity, right? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and thank you for joining. Once again, my name is Adebayo. Hello, Maja. So I am the head of research and chief learning designer at EAZY-DIGI. I am excited and honored to be your host in this conference. I'm just going to give a brief welcome speech, and then, and afterwards, and then we'll move into the first session, right? For today, right? So why this conference? Like you want to know why you are here, right? Part of it is networking. I talked about that earlier. But when we give this conference the topic, school models for the society and economy of 2030 and beyond, what was the rationale? What was the reasoning behind that, right? At the heart of what we do again at EasyDigi is research, right? We're trying to understand how the society is evolving, how the industrial landscape locally and globally is evolving, and what is the implication on K to 12, right? We're trying to understand, what the society is asking for, because what the society is asking for is what school should be building for. We're trying to understand, and from an agile perspective, what needs to change over and over time, right? In terms of content and learning experience that learners are being offered, just to ensure that K to 12 school, as it were, is a relevant institution, right? So what led to this conference is basically this, right? We believe that school is supposed to be a simulation, right, of what real life would look like, right? Of course, many research, many report are speaking to several things as regards the world we live in, right? The world we live in is evolving, right? So what is changing? What are the implications, right? Today in the world we live in, there's a strong presence of artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence. What is the impact on our society? That on one side, and other things that are happening globally in the world. What is the impact on the kind of education? Because K to 12 is the opportunity, is the platform that these kids gets to really prepare for this bigger world at large. All right. I like to always tell this story. If you have listened to me before, you must have heard me talk about this story. It's talking about Dubai and this project they are working on, Project Mars. So the idea of the project is that they want to live in Mars by the year 2100, right? So 2117 rather, please. So in the year 2017, they launched the project. So what they did was to move into Mars and study the whole atmosphere, and because they want to go live in Mars by the year 2117, right? So they went to Mars, studied the whole atmosphere and everything, and then they came back to the Earth and built something like a colony, right? Something like a colony. They build something like a simulation, what looks like Mars, right? And the simple idea is that they want to first live in that colony on the Earth, and they feel that if they can survive, then in the space of 100 years, looking at that span, then they are now free to go live in Mars, right? So think about that experience, right? So there is a future, all right? And so they have created a figure, a simulation, an atmosphere of the future in the present, right? So that they can be able to prepare for that future. That's just summarily what K to 12 should look like. That's summarily. Olawumi Kodri, thank you for joining. Thank you from Ogun State. It's good to have you here. All right. So K to 12 is supposed to create that atmosphere, all right? And based on what the future is calling for, based on what today and the future is calling for, is asking for, once that is missing out of the equation, then K to 12 is no longer relevant. Is no longer relevant. Education has moved beyond raising kids to be able to pass exams, right? Has moved way far beyond that. Today's realities and the imagined, future realities is asking for something way more than that, way more than that. And how can K to 12 position, ourselves, right, to fit in, right, into this new narrative, right? How can K to 12? So if you look at that story, right, understanding today and the future, and creating an atmosphere of today and the imagined future to give people the opportunity to prepare for what is and what is coming, giving students the opportunity to prepare for what is and what is coming. Right. So that's the rationale behind this conference, talking about school models for the society and economy of 2030 and beyond. Thank you, Juliana, for joining. I see you. Thank you. It's good to have you here. Thank you, Yinka. Thank you for joining from Lagos, Nigeria. It's good to have you here. And once that understanding is missing, again, K to 12 is no longer relevant. All right. So it becomes very important. One thing we're doing again in this conference, right, is to disrupt by distracting. We're trying to, K to 12 is very busy with so many things. So we're trying to say, hey, there is a bigger picture here, right? We're using this conference again to take away the attention of K to 12 stakeholders from many things that they are immersed with. There is a bigger. Today, if you follow the Global Risks report from the World Economic Forum, there are many issues that have been highlighted, right? I personally follow it every year. Every year, the World Economic Forum releases a global risks report where they are highlighting major challenges that the world will face. And the question I ask myself is, does K to 12 understand this? And how is K to 12 really helping kids to be able to solve these problems? How is K to 12 providing solution to these problems? Right? When I look at schools around, right, I want to ask every school a question, right? What value have you practically added to the society? We have seen this era of of education that has no impact, direct impact on the society. That's not valuable. When people go to a place for 12 years and they come out and they cannot add value to their society, is a problem. It's a big problem. So what has been happening for the last 12 years, right? So that has changed. The narrative has changed globally. What we see now is that we see that kids stuff is becoming more valuable, with the capacity to be able to add value to the society. In this conference, you are going to see schools. We have a session for school spotlight. We have a session for learner spotlight. You get to see schools that are disrupting, schools that are adding real value to the society, schools that are raising kids who are in turn, who have become agents, kids that have moved from students to agents who are adding real value to their society. You get to see them in this conference. You get to see learners who are, who have taken up projects and who are solving problems, real problems in their society, because that is where K to 12 is today. If we think about a better word for ourselves, then education must be potent enough to be able to affect our society and our nation, our community, and our continent, even at large. That is where K to 12 is, all right? That is what it is. Once again, I want to welcome you all to this conference. And again, get ready. It's going to be an exciting time. It's going to be a lovely time. Please again, don't miss anyone in the chat box. This is the time to network. Everyone you see right there, has something to add to you, and you also have something to add to them. Everyone is doing great things everywhere. We need to network. We need to keep increasing the intensity, you know, of what we are doing, together as an education community, both locally and globally. Please networking intentionally. That's the first thing we want to do in this conference. Give everyone that opportunity to be able to network and meet other educators across the globe. So do not miss anyone that is on this call. Please do not talk. If you're joining us from YouTube, we're streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you're joining us from YouTube, thank you, and thank you for joining. If you put something in the chat box, I should be able to see it and also recognize you right here. I want to recognize everyone that has joined and everyone that is listening. Um, yeah, exactly. So let's keep networking. Yeah, that's just a brief expo into what this conference is all about and into what you should expect in this conference. Right? There is a greater call. There is a greater calling for education, as it were, and so we understand that this is a time not just to focus on helping kids with exams and all of that. These things don't have a real ROI, right? It doesn't have real ROI. We want to raise kids who are strong enough, who understand their society, who are not disconnected from their society, who understand their society, the problems that exist, and who are willing. Kids that have been trained, with empathy. Our society today is asking for empathy. If you understand what is going on globally, you understand that's an important skill that our society is asking for solution to diverse problems, right? So who keeps doing math, English, physics, science, geography? The question is that what the society is asking for? Society is asking for something more. We all know what our society looks like today, locally and globally, right? Our society is asking for many soft skills that kids need to be offered, right? And the opportunity they have to grow those skills extensively, right? That 12 years experience can be focused on helping them build so that by the time they are leaving, coming out of that 12 year experience, they are so empowered. They are so empowered. And then wherever they go, you see them adding value. And this is how our world is really going to become a better place, right? Because right from K to 12, we are churning out individuals, we are churning out human capitals, right? That have the capacity, that have the potential, that understand their society, and that are very much interested in changing things right from where they are, everywhere, everywhere. That is where education stands today. I'm going to be doing a session later in this conference, talking about five things that happens in a K-12 classroom. um, we do a lot of research, and from the things we have discovered and found, there are many things that we would like to share with you, right? So this conference is bringing innovation. Like I said in the last post I put on LinkedIn, you are only as innovative as the quality of innovation that you interact with from time to time, right? The more you see what is possible, the more you are inspired to do what is possible, right? The more you see what is possible, the more you are inspired to do what is possible. The more you see what is possible. And so this conference again is aimed at showing you what is possible. What is possible in K-12 today, right? Um, some of you need the courage, you need the impetus, right, to take some new steps, right? And it's going to come from being inspired, right, from hearing some stories in this conference, right? There are individuals who have taken that courage to say, hey, we're going to stop doing this. We're going to move from A to B, right? Because we want to offer our learners authentic learning. There are individuals that have done that. There are many of them, right? So this conference again will show you what is possible real time, right? And you're not just seeing it, you're not reading something online or watch something, you also get to interact with you have the opportunity to ask questions here, questions that are going to be answered real time, and that's something you do not want to miss, right? You are going to be interacting with diverse innovations in the world of K to 12. You're going to get to see what is possible, really, right? You're going to get to see what is possible. We're going to be moving into our fourth session, and it's going to be a school spotlight, right? Like I said, we have school spotlight, we have learner spotlight, and we have presentations, general presentations, right? So in the school spotlight session, what we're doing is to Um, what we're doing is to show you schools, all right, that are disrupting, all right. Today, globally, we've seen an emergence of micro schooling, of homeschooling, online schooling, of different kind of schooling when learning when it comes to K to 12, right? And all of these things have got their dynamics. They've got how happens, right? How does it happen? You're interested in knowing like how what really happens, and how our learners engage. What is what does it have? What are the learning outcomes, and how is it really working? What does it looks like, right? So there are different ways that learning can happen today in K to 12, right? Aside from the conventional building Monday to Friday structure, right? A lot of disruption has come into K to 12, and again, that's one of the essence of this conference. Yeah, Fawibe Olua, yeah, I see you. Thank you. You joining from Oyo State. It's good to have you here, right? Thank you for joining. Onyeka, yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining. It's good to have you here. Okay, so again, we're going to move right away to the first session, and it, it is my honor to bring up the first speaker for today in the school spotlight. Remember, the school spotlight is that are disrupting and doing amazing things in K to 12, right? So I don't know if you are ready for this. I hope you're ready, really. I hope you're ready. If you're ready, so you've got to grab your pen, grab your books, open your mind, and be ready to go on this tour. We are going to be taking you on a mental flight into the world of possibilities. And I encourage you strongly to get ready. Get super, super ready. Yeah, so if you need to invite a friend from LinkedIn, and why not, please pop a friend and let your friend know that, hey, something is happening right here, and you do not want to miss it. Okay, I'm introducing Sharon to you, my guys. I'll be introducing Sharon to you shortly. Um, trying to just put up my slides there. Uh, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading. Yeah. Again, I hope you're set. Yeah, Onyeka, thank you for joining from Lagos. It's good to have you. Bada, bada, bada. Yeah, Mamos. So, dear participants, get ready to meet children shortly. Again, I hope you are fully ready for this experience. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I am more than excited to do this. I am just so excited to do this. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay. So, Shireen is an adolescent expert and has spent 12 years in the middle school classroom while developing an award-winning micro school. Um, if you've heard about micro schooling, micro school, you're going to see what it looks like today. Colos Academy is a micro for curious and active teens and twins. Children believe strongly in this, the film to simulate an atmosphere of real life daily tasks and challenges to offer kids the accurate learning experience they need to prepare for the present and the future. Sharon leads an innovation in the world of K-12 that offers kids opportunity to connect while learning, encourage and lead to a new path of knowledge and discoveries beyond the fixed curriculum, and build capacity for solving real life problem. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to bring Shira to this podium. Uh, yeah, I'm doing the right way. Yeah, I Sharon, can you hear me?
Hi, I can. Can you hear me okay? Are you
Awesome,
able to hear
awesome.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. can hear you loud and clear. Can you loud and clear?
Yay!
Um,
Thank you so much.
yeah, very well, very well. I can hear you very well. Yeah,
Thanks, Jeff.
awesome. So bef- yeah, yeah. Thank you, Sharon. So before I step down, thank you so much, Sharon, for your time. Um, you know, thank you. Yeah, I see Jeff there. Yeah, thank you for what you do and what you stand for. Thank you for choosing Shrubs. Thank you for choosing to create a different pathway. Thank you for choosing to come up with Cultural Academy. I know what you're doing, and I know how powerful and how valuable it is. And of course, I know the audience is also quite excited and intrigued in getting to know more about Colossal Academy and what is possible again as we look at diverse innovations in this school spotlight. So hi guys, meet Sharon. Sharon, 20 minutes are about. I'm going to connect. I know the audience are going to questions for you. You ready?
Thank you so much, Mr. Alomaha. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. It's really time to start discussing what it needs to look like in the classroom, or what these models need to look like. So thank you so much for inviting me. I do have a small presentation because I'm still a teacher, so I'm going to be presenting a little bit. It's going to be quite interactive if possible. So I would love for you, wherever you're from, to let me know where you are listening from, where you're watching from, so I can get kind of a sense of where you're at. So I am in Florida, just north of Miami, about 20-30 minutes in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We've been on the news quite a lot, and education is in the spotlight. For some of the more uncomfortable reasons. But South Florida is a mecca, if you will, of an education renaissance. So it's kind of the counter of some of the more negative perspectives of what people think of when they think of Florida, the United States. So I wanted to share what we do, who I am, and what it looks like to run a program. I hope everybody can see this. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about models for society and economy for 2030 and beyond. So it's an interesting topic because I feel like the current education system that we have globally is not designed for jobs that aren't even there, that aren't even imagined. So right now, the students that are entering kindergarten in the U.S. will be graduating in 2035. And I don't think that we're equipping them with what they deserve in order to live in the world. I hope everybody can see that. Can you guys see? Can you give me oh yeah, okay, here it is. I see myself and the presentation. Very good. So uh, I've never used this stream before. So I am Shireen Radigan. I am the CEO and founder of Colossal Academy, and I have been teaching adolescents for over 12 years. I've taught in private schools, I have taught in public schools, I have taught in international schools, I have taught at Montessori schools. It was kind of like a Goldilocks effect for me. I couldn't quite find the place that I knew in my heart was supposed to be where I work, right? I'm a fifth generation educator, and so it's an extreme privilege to continue on the lineage of being an educator. But something just didn't sit with my soul about the way we were doing education. I would have 150 students on my caseload, which, for some teachers are like, oh, that's only 150. But really, I couldn't have deep connection with the students. I couldn't remember everybody's name sometimes. I mean, there were so many things, so many shifting parts, especially when you have a public education where children are shifting from one place to another. So, I really wanted to have a space where we could do what I thought the sacredness of education was. Really, I tried different places and nothing quite fit. And so the only being left was to create my own space. So here I wanted to show you a little video uh, about Colossal. I hope you can hear it. I've tried private schools. That system was not allowing me to teach. We're cooking something. There was no other alternative. Either I leave education or I try to create my own space. The mission of Colossal Academy is to reignite the love of learning through 21st century education. We are serving teens and tweens, learning about everything agro, as well as diving into our core subjects and whatever learning they're interested in. We are on the farm Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then on Monday, Friday, we are online. My job is really to be like the conduit. What are you interested in? Let me find out who's the expert. Let's go there. I knew that they had to be out in the world because life is education. I know that Colossal Academy is working because I see their joy. I see them in bliss. I see them in happiness. They're still learning all the content. It's the approach. We're setting the stage for them to want to be there. It's a beautiful place to be. We're also setting the stage for them academically to have all the skills that they need. So I will actually put this video in the chat just in case. Oops. Let's see. I hope we're still live. Can we get somebody leave me a let me know
Yeah.
if we're still live here? Yeah?
Yeah, we're still
Okay,
live. I can hear you.
beautiful. I hope you saw the video.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I hope you saw the video. I will send over the link just in case. And I will continue the presentation then. So, we started on a farm. Well, we actually started online because it was during the moments of COVID and the lockdown here in the US. So some families decided they did not want to return, and I knew I didn't want to return. I have 3 children of my own, and I did not want to compromise that um, learning because I was seeing what was happening with distance learning. So we started 4 days online and 1 day in person. And with the day that we went in person, we went to the beach. And I found that they were actually getting more work done in the 4 days and sometimes in the 3 days than the 5-day required. So I would go to their houses with all these kits and materials so that they could have hands-on materials every Sunday for the following week. And we would unbox these materials together. So I want you to think for just a moment. I want you to think back to your favorite teacher. I know there are probably many in your life, but I would love for you to think of the first one that pops in your mind, the very most vivid memory of someone who really changed your life. So as you think about this teacher, I want you to answer the following, please. In one word, how would you describe your favorite teacher? If you could drop that in the chat, please. One word to describe your favorite teacher. Okay, something to think about. One word is caring. One word is caring. Beautiful. Okay. Next thing I'd like to ask you is what was one lesson or skill your favorite teacher taught you? What skill or lesson did your favorite teacher teach you? Inspiring. That's a great word. Caring, inspiring. Yeah. What's one skill or lesson your favorite teacher taught you that you still use today? What's one skill? Best practices are not always the best solution. Absolutely. I think we have to go beyond, what we learned in our education 101 class. We have to go beyond what we know intrinsically, what teaching's supposed to be, and the magic of what can happen between the educator or the facilitator or the guide, however you would like to call the adult with wisdom, the elder, and the younger, the child or the learning, um, you know, learners. And the last question I would ask is one word to describe how the teacher made you feel. How did that teacher make you feel inside? How did that teacher make you feel? For me, the teacher that probably inspired me the most was one of my college professors. He stands out the most at this moment, and he just allowed me to be wildly creative and really do a lot of participatory action research and not. Not put as many limitations on me. I work really well with less limitations because I'm a creative. So limitations start to actually quench my creativity. Firm and committed. Those are great. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so what we do a lot at Colossal Academy, your answers are going to come into play later. What we do a lot is place based learning. So we try to offer place based learning as much as possible whenever it allows in our schedule. It's approach to teaching that is rooted in the local community and environment. It emphasizes experiential and hands on learning and encourages students to explore and learn about their surroundings through the real world problem solving exploration. So, what does this look like for us? So, we study the Everglades at Colossal Academy because it's our natural environment. I know and understand and that students need to be reattached to the actual nature that we are in. And so we put them out on kayaks, we put them in the swamp, and we get them activated in the environment itself. So if I talk about the Everglades, I don't just talk about it and ask them to open their textbook or take a worksheet. I actually bring them to there. We get on the bus, we get in a kayak. South Florida is considered the Everglades, and so there are lots of actually environmental issues that are happening with such large, dense population moving to the Everglades. So we can't even begin to grasp an appreciation for the environment we're in unless we go to the environment and we are surrounded in it. I think and understand and know that an experience will give you a greater connection than a hypothetical idea of what the Everglades are, and so that we can restore it and be part of the solution. These are partners of ours. We have a garden and they help us to get our seedlings. They're called Tree Amigos. And so we went to a greenhouse, asked them questions about how they grow their vegetables. Everything that they grow there is edible, organic, uh, sustainable. The soils and the fertilizers don't cause problems with the runoff in the Everglades. So they needed to understand the connection, deep connection to how agriculture is affecting, excuse me, how agriculture is affecting some of the issues in the Everglades. So we have sometimes this algae bloom that happens because the fertilizer is fertilizing algae inside of the swamp, and so it causes bad runoff. It's killing the fishes. There's a lot of really negative impacts with this. So they learned about fertilizers and what are safe and when to use fertilizers with their organic farm that they cook from. And we build really strong partnerships within the community. It is time for our community to start serving the youth. It's time for them to pour in. We've been so long locked up in these schoolhouses that there's almost an amnesia of what it means to have children in our community that are actively engaged. And furthermore, I know that they're far more solutionary than a lot of the grown-ups because they just haven't had a whole life of some disappointments. And so they're highly optimistic about what we can do, when we can do it, how it can be done. And it's super exciting to be in the presence of these young geniuses.
I'm coming.
Experience the physics. We partner with Surfskate Science, and they are learning how to surfboard and skateboard. And so we don't just say, imagine you roll down a hill and you're at the maximum velocity of. We put them on a skateboard and show them what that might look like. We use public transportation when we're able to. Brightline is actually a super, super fancy, it's Virgin Mobile's new high-speed train. And so we were talking about transportation, and I can't just explain to you or thank you, have students hypothetically imagine they're on a train, right? Like you put them on a train as much as possible. So we do a lot of experiential learning. It's really central to our education model. I really feel deeply that students have to experience so that it becomes a fabric of who they are. Once they experience it, then you have something to recall that you've touched, taste in all the senses. Experience something so that you can come up with solutions or learn it better. So we're talking about dimensions and how to scale. They had to learn how to scale a vegetable garden. So with graph paper. So then we created it and we figured out how many feet, how many inches here in the background. I don't know if you can see it, but there's this little board. And so they were learning how to do scale models using graph paper and what vegetables would go well together without using pesticides. You can use basil, for instance, with tomatoes, and it helps to keep the pest off of the tomatoes. And then they created a tomato garden. I want touching and feeling as much as possible. You're learning about the different layers. Sorry, I forgot to mute this one, but ready? Okay. It's going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo.
There you go.
That was the coolest one.
I have plastic baggies for you guys.
Is that a part of it?
So we were learning about the layers of the earth, and so I try as much as possible to make it hands-on so that they can experience what that might look and feel like. We go to museums when possible. Some of the museums are quite expensive, so I'm always on the lookout for coupons or calling and advocating for free admission for my students, because a lot of what we do is very, very low cost, or I do a lot of advocacy work to make sure that they have access, and being their advocate and their voice, their microphone to the world. And so I spend a lot of time on the phone and typing and writing and finding programs or parks or curriculum that might be free to them. So this was Frost Museum, which is a quite expensive museum that we were able to get into for free. Another pillar of what we really truly believe is important moving forward to 2030 and beyond are practical life skills. So, definitely in the States, there's definitely been a detachment with responsibilities in the household, responsibilities of self. And so we work on nurturing some of that. So our students cook a plant-based diet. The plant-based diet actually came out of the study of global warming, and they realized that by shifting their diet just once a day, once a week, that they would be able to, if everybody on the planet shifted their diet for once a week, that they would be able to reduce greenhouse gases, particularly looking at cows with the amount of methane that they put into the planet. So if everybody was able to just do one plant-based diet per week, and so they wanted to learn how to cook a plant-based diet because my students didn't have access to that, and often they don't have access to fresh fruits or vegetables in the way that they just don't know what to do with it. So here's bok choy that they actually grew. They were learning about mushrooms and creating a stir fry. We had an amazing opportunity to fly planes. So my students were really interested in aviation. And so I did the work, which was being the conduit. And I found an incredible organization called Davidson Fly. It is an aero engineer who started his own free aviation program for young people. And he's actually from Nigeria. So shout out to Nigeria. The kids got to get in a plane with a pilot and co-pilot these mini chartered flights, and it was free to them, but it really changed their perspective about who they could be. And we need a lot more in the United States. We need a lot more Black and Brown pilots, and so most of my students are Black and Brown, and so I want to make sure they have access to what can happen outside after school, after they're done with their basic studies. We were working on financial literacy, and they wanted to make this recipe, and so we went to the grocery store. They had to learn what aisles everything was in. They had to yeah, it is. It is time to go out as much as possible. It's really tough in some places. It's very restricted what you can do. So we went to the grocery store. They had a list of items. I gave them a budget, and if they stayed under budget, they got to keep the money. And so they all stayed under budget. And some got really creative and decided to buy large items in bulk, share their money, and then split it up. And so that was really exciting to watch them decide that if they worked in collaboration, they could get all the ingredients for their recipe as well as get something extra for themselves. And that was really fun to watch because I hadn't even thought about that element. But, children are amazing. So something that's super central to what we do is the entrepreneurship. We know that the jobs that our students are going to be holding aren't even made yet. 65% of the jobs in the United States have not even been built yet for 2035. And so when our students imagine who they can be, it really needs to be the creator of the next thing, right? We want the next leaders, the next CEOs to be responsible, respectful, in tune with nature, have met so many different types of people that they're deep with empathy and caring, and really reimagining how business can be done globally, nationally. And so we centralize entrepreneurship. Once a month, they go to market. This happened to be an art entrepreneurship. They all created their art and sold it. They all made a lot of money. They made so much money. And so they were able to sell their art and earn money for themselves. There's always a different theme about what they need to sell. It could be something sustainable. It could be art. It could be there's all kinds of different zero plastic packaging. It could be a lot of different challenges that they're trying to raise too. So this student made so much money. He made bracelets on the spot and personalized and put people's names on it. This was not my idea, completely his idea. And he was definitely the highest earner of the day. So he would write their names down, quickly make their bracelets, and then earn money. And so, how are they measuring up? My students are blowing away the standardized tests. They are doing just fine and better. In comparison, we're the red and the blue is the national average. In comparison to uh, their peers, they are growing sometimes 2 grade levels and in 1 year. So they're doing just fine. um, and they're just fine. And I don't do any test preparation. So when they are going to take the test, I say, hey, on Friday we're going to be taking the map test, or on whatever day. And I don't prep them. I don't teach them anything. I don't teach them how to take a test. I am considering for the high school to make sure that they have some of the standardized test practices, because it starts to get more difficult with college entrance. But I'm not teaching them anything about the prepping for this, for the exams. And they're doing just great. um, because I am a licensed private school in the state of Florida, I do have to test them once a year for an accountability measure. In the state of Florida, private schools can access what they call an ESA, which is an educational savings account. So my tuition is greatly reduced, so that my dream is to really make the school tuition free, so that we can really have access for all students. I don't want money to be the reason they can't access Colossal Academy. We stay micro, and so the next steps really are making sure that everybody has access to to the school. They're still working out what ESA needs to look like for Florida. So, for instance, you'd have to have a social security number, and not all students necessarily have a social security number. So, we're working from the colossal end to figure out how we can raise money all the time to make sure that the financial needs are met. I also am very, very, very cheap with what we have, because I'm understanding every dollar needs to go into the child as much as possible, and also capturing and paying teachers well. This is something I wanted to share. My favorite quote by Bell Hooks, who is a scholar, feminist, education writer, and she says, "To educate as the practice of freedom comes easiest to those of us who teach, who also believe that there is an aspect of our vocation that is sacred, who believe that our work is not merely to share information, but to share in the intellectual and spiritual growth of our students." So, there is so much freedom that can happen in the classroom. We can really do a lot of healing of intergenerational trauma. We can also just learn on a totally different level and really give students the honor and respect that they deserve. I'm asking and begging teachers, please don't leave education. That we have a huge teacher shortage in the United States right now. We can't fill the classrooms for many reasons. I think that in the United States, education is the teaching profession is not considered to be as noble as it is. Often it is seen as being part of childcare. And we go and get licensed, and we spend time we are professionals. And so I want to help teachers to open their own micro school, whether that's a colossal school or some kind of micro school. I don't want teachers to leave education and know that there's another place that they can create that is exactly perfectly um, fulfills their desire to be an educator, the why they became an educator. We can absolutely have that, and we can create those spaces. There's a lot of work done in theory and ideas and the ideation, but very few models that are actually being birthed. And so it's really critical that both of those things are happening. We need the curriculum. That's great. We need the academies to be shifting, and and the universities to be shifting what it looks like to be a school, or how we should be certifying, maybe micro certifying what university needs to look like. But really, we have to have the models, we have to have the actual product. So I'm open for any questions. Happy early morning. It's almost 8 o'clock in the morning here in Fort Lauderdale, so I hope I can answer any questions. Yeah, so our assessment is that particular assessment is an aptitude test. um, yeah, like I'm working now to figure out how we can start to quantify their actual learning that goes way beyond the classroom. And I want to make sure that they have the data on that too. Yeah, it's great they're reading and their math scores are going up drastically in a year, but what about the math esteem? One of my students, Hannah, she when she first came in, she wouldn't answer a question about math, or when we're working one-on-one, she was so painfully shy. And it's because it's how math made her feel. Her test scores were going up, but still, like, the way she felt when she did math didn't make her feel good. And by the end, she was helping other people. And by the end of her time with us, she was helping other people. She was sitting with other students, and she was presenting and answering questions. I don't spend almost any time as the friend of the house instructor. I'm normally alongside sitting with them. So sometimes she would go and help a separate group and just be so confident. And those are things I haven't been able yet to quantify, like 7,000% more happy. They're really joyful. So I don't have the answers to that. So that's what I'm leaning on the academy to create, because I'm creating the spaces. I need the assessment makers that are talented in that to start to center what we are assessing for, right? Like, joy is a parameter in which I assess in my classroom. Um, yeah. So thank you so much for having me. If you have any questions, you can always find me on LinkedIn. And thank you again for having me today. I'm gonna stop the screen share. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a great honor, Mr. Moha.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. Thank
yeah. My name is Adebayo. Adebayo is fine.
Okay, Mr. Adebayo.
Yeah, Adebayo is fine. All right. Thank you so much, Sharon. What so much to say, so much to say. And yeah, yeah. I like the question about assessment. So let me try to take you back a little bit. Thank there couldn't have been a better way to caption, a school model for the society and economy of 2030 and beyond than this. Um, yeah, thank you, Mary Rose. Don't worry, the session is recorded, right? It's recorded on YouTube and also on LinkedIn, right? So you're going to have access to this session even after now, right? Don't worry about the recording. So thank you for taking us on this journey. You've just shown us what it looks like, and of course, another message you've passed across is the fact that this is an agile journey. This is an agile journey. You are seriously learning from what is happening every day, every week, and every month at Colossal Academy, and you are looking at what else can happen and all of that. Thank you so much, Sharon. This is powerful. You started by talking strongly about experiences, right? About experiences. One of the things I got from this presentation is the need to pay close attention to every experience, right? So
Oh no, I think I've lost you. Mr. Adebayo, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Is it me that's frozen? Can we write in the chat? Because I can present for if we need to continue. I'm so happy to continue talking about education. Am I? Okay, you can hear me. Okay, so I can take a couple questions while we're waiting. Thank you so much. So okay, thank you. Yeah, I will definitely continue. So, one of the questions is, how do you integrate your assessment with higher institution of learning, knowing that there's sets of standards for entrance exam? That's a great question. These are all part of like what it looks like to rebuild and really be transformative. But I go to a lot of
I
conferences and I speak at a lot of different institutions, um, doing just this because I really thought that part of what I needed to do was create the assessment and create all the other pieces that come into what is a comprehensive and better a much better organization of education. And I found that actually I'm supposed to be the one that is just building and creating spaces. So students present their portfolios, they create their own websites with the portfolios of learning. And I know that other places I know that other universities are looking at portfolios. So I want to teach them how to create their own portfolio, and ideally, when they graduate as at 18, they are the CEO of their own company anyway. So whether they choose to go to university or not, they will have their own business. So, all right, thank you. I think the internet went out for just a moment, so I always have
yeah.
more to say about education, so I took the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so again, the session is recorded. I know I got that feedback a lot. Yeah, two powerful things, I want to take away from that presentation is paying close attention to the experience of kids within the school environment, and then also partnership. I saw how you were very invested in partnership. I think that's going to be an important pillar or driver for the school of the future, investing strongly in partnership, and then paying close attention to every. This is a time for schools to sit down and review every experience that happens within the school environment. This is time to look closer and say, hey, this experience, how does it translate, how does it relate to what is obtainable in real life? What is the value? What is the ROI? We're talking about kids making money here. We especially for a continent like Africa, we want to see more and more of that happening. We want to see kids making money, kids being equipped with that capacity, being able to find solutions to problem, that innovative thinking, that capacity. We want to see happening everywhere. This is powerful. I cannot thank you enough, Sharon, for this awesome presentation. Thank you. Again, one of the idea of this conference, why we wanted Colossal Academy to be here, is because we wanted to celebrate what we are doing. There are so many people that have not seen things like this. We understand how tough it can be, trying to pull all of this together. But this is to say before all of our audience and before the whole world watching, this is to celebrate Colossal Academy greatly. It's not a physical meeting. I would have presented a physical plaque or an award or something, just so that right, right in the meeting, you know. But yeah, we're taking out this time to celebrate innovation, and one of it is what you have seen in the past 15 minutes there about coming from Colossal Academy. Thank you so much, Shiro, once again. Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And the work you're doing is so incredibly important. I'm on the ground, and you have to be the broadcaster and really cultivating and networking us. So thank you so much. It's an extreme honor, and have a beautiful, beautiful day wherever you're coming from, wherever you're calling from. Thank you again. I don't know how to leave. Oh, it says leave
Yeah,
on the.
yeah. Thank you, Shireen.
Bye bye.
Okay. Yeah, so you agree with me that was an exciting moment with Sharon. What this is just the beginning. I really want to tell you that you don't want to miss every session today. There's still more to come. We've still got like four more sessions today. All right. This is a big, a huge conference. Yeah, and it promises to be in the best of time. So we're moving straight to the learner spotlight, but I won't move into that without bringing my colleague on the show. um, Teresa is here. Hi, Teresa. Can you hear me?
Well, hello. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Very well, very well. I can hear you very well, very well. Thank
Perfect.
you. Thank you for
Perfect.
joining. Yeah. So,
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you. I feel
Yeah.
like I have some great FOMO. I missed out on the first session. Um, I know we like this time of the year and we love showcasing and finding out and putting the spotlight on great innovation. So, so happy to be here and to share this. And thank you to our participants and our speakers. We are so excited about this.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Teresa. So Teresa is a member of the research board at EAZY-DIGI. So much of what you see happening today, it's because we also have a research board, people that are sitting and thinking and trying to put things together, and that's what you see. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much for your time. So Teresa is going to be joining me. We're going to be moderating together today's session, um, all through. So Teresa, we have Namia. I'm sure you like to meet Namia. Namia is she's gonna be she will be coming up for the learner spotlight. You know, just like we said, we want to showcase learners. Now we've seen a school. To our audience, we've seen a school, we've seen a school leader, someone that's disrupting. Now let's see kids. What do kids do today? We know that today kids are now doing more than just passing exams, right? We've seen that emergence of student entrepreneurs, of teen innovators, of teen CEOs. We're seeing that strongly, and that's because of where K to 12 is today. That's another innovation, right? It's a new possibility, right? So the pride of a child in K to 12 is not good grade. I mean, I that has K to 12 has gone beyond that right now, right? You don't want to come to this thing and bragging about good grades. Nobody cares about that anymore. Nobody cares about that. The question is, what value does this child have to add to the society? The question is, what skills and what competencies does this child have that translates to real life that can be honored and respected anywhere and everywhere, right? So that's the kids service, and that's what we're having the learner spotlight. Yeah, Teresa, you want to say something about that before I bring Namia up?
Absolutely. I think it's important, to mention that if you take a look at where we were 3 years ago, there's so many things that we were speaking about. There's so many ideas that we had. There's so much that we were looking at, and in 2020, 2023 was the future. And here we are now in 2023, and we get to showcase the kind of learner that we envisioned then already. So I am so excited to hear what we're going to be seeing today and being exposed to the kind of innovation that comes with the value that you've just spoken about. We want to create learners that add value to society, and I think that's what we're going to see. We no longer want to focus just on that piece of paper that tells us what the skills or competencies are. We want to see it and
Yeah,
practical examples of it. So yeah, let's get into it. Thank you for the
yeah.
welcome, everybody, and welcome to all of you too.
Yeah, exactly. We want to see it. Okay, so we're going to bring up Namia. Yeah, so Namia is going to join us, and then I'll just do a brief intro about Namia. Namia is a grade 11 student from India. So I met Namia on LinkedIn. And that's part of what we're talking about. I'll come to that later. So I met Namia on LinkedIn, and then I was fascinated by what she's doing, So Namia, she is a Minecraft mentor. Um, when I asked Namia to share a bio with me, so Namia gave me a website, and Namia said, "Mr. Bio, can you check my bio in the website?" And I said, "Oh, that's fine. That's cool. That's okay." And of course, that's what it looks like. All right, that's what it looks like. That's where we are. You have the kids in your classroom, having their portfolios in that kind of format, and they can share with anyone from anywhere, right? So Nami has got so many awards. I will try to pick some of them here: the Global Child Prodigy Award, Global Innovation Award. She's a test speaker, an Adobe creative. She is a Teach SDG ambassador. She's a CEO. She's an entrepreneur that I know. She's making money. You see her right here. While she's yet a grade 11 student at St. Paul Middle School. Yeah, there's something great that Namia does. Each one teach 10. That's a campaign that has moved across several countries. I see a lot of that, and how that is moving, and now such a great initiative, such a great, she's going to talk about it, I believe. So Namia, we are excited to have you right on the show. I'm going to step down a little and then allow you to introduce yourself and tell us about your project, about what you've worked on, and then I'll come back again to ask you a number of questions. Right. uh oh, so Namia, if you're speaking, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you not okay. Yeah, yeah, I think it's coming up.
Me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I can hear you. Oh, it just went off again.
Okay. How about now? Do you hear me?
Very well, very well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
I
so
was just
Namia,
saying, like, thank you so much for having me here today. It's like an honor to meet you and, interact with people joining us here today. So, like, I'm very excited.
yeah, we are so happy and glad to have you here. So I'm just gonna give you the stage. The next 10 to 15 minutes, you're gonna take us on that journey. Tell us about yourself. Show us what you've worked on. Show us about your entrepreneurial feats. Show us about your projects, and yeah, our audience would like to see.
Sure, thank you. Give me a second. I'm trying to share the entire screen. Oops. Yeah. Do let me know whenever you can see my screen. I've started sharing it um, in the chat. If you can let me know. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your
Yeah, I
screen
can
now.
see your screen now. All right, thank you. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Namya Joshi, and I'm a grade 11 student studying at Satpal Middle School in India. I'm currently 16 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've been designing and delivering free of cost coding workshops for more than 15,000 teachers, young people, especially girls in India and all over the world, as well as empowering them to run their own ventures. And I'm basically, using game-based learning with STEM to empower people on what can we do for making classroom learning more engaging. And I'm basically a person who loves to empower student voice through Minecraft, through Teach SGs, through TED Talks, through my motto Each One Teach 10, through my podcast, my YouTube channel, my book where I recently launched, my podcast, and many more. And my ultimate motto is to make my motto Each One Teach 10 um, more beautiful and impactful. And I want this to create ripples of change to achieve the SDG goals by 2030. Well, this all started back in grade 5 when I used to see, concepts in my class not being that understandable by my fellow mates through the books because they are just text based. And not everyone understands in the same way, even though I might be able to understand what my teacher is teaching. But people like are learning in different ways because everybody is different and the way they learn is also different. There was once also a workshop that was held at my school to train the teachers on Minecraft. So that is when I connected the dots and I realized that if we can teach them about Minecraft, then they can use that as a tool for making classroom learning more engaging. And that is when I created my first lesson in history in the beginning of grade 6, Egyptian civilization, and I asked my history teacher to use that instead of the text based modules that she usually uses. She was hesitant at first, but she agreed to me because she loves to try new things, and she used that in the classroom. To her surprise and to my surprise as well, every single child in the class was engaged. They were asking questions, they were collaborating, becoming more inquisitive. And for me, I just, got our two solutions from that. First, the students love to play games. Second, Minecraft is a very powerful tool where students can, come back and reflect in a non-static environment. And because when it's visual learning, and especially when it is the game, students have the connection, the live connection in the classroom that makes the bond between teachers and students more stronger and also makes the classroom more engaging. And that is what inspired me to make more and more lesson plans in Minecraft and also map them around the sustainable development goals. So back in 2019, we were declared as the winner of the National Minecraft competition organized by Microsoft India. This was my first SDG-based lesson called the Magical World of Books, leading to SDGs 2030, and it focused on the importance of quality education, SDG 4, but also, as the word says, quality education, the quality over the quantity of the education, that how students can be taught through games and also can come and make what they have learned in the classroom in the game itself. And I also started training students in my school in clubs, and along with also training teachers, I organized clubs in my school when I trained teachers, and also I got an opportunity to train students. The first session that I conducted for the students in my school was for grade 6 and grade 7 together, and also it was a really great experience for me to learn new things. Just a second, give me a minute. I guess there's some connection issue. Oh, yeah, I guess you can hear. I thought there was a net issue. Sorry for that. All right, moving on. Before I go to that, well, I had also collaborated with Finland for creating a Christmas jingle inside Minecraft. And that time, I had also got an opportunity to train the Become Foster kindergarten teachers in Finland. And I always used to think that how would it feel like training the teachers whom I had met online face to face and meeting them in Finland. Well, I believe the universe listens to our call. There I was invited as a keynote speaker at Chaos 2019 to present my work to my present about the importance of game-based learning and how Minecraft as a tool can be used for classroom engagement at as a at Jyväskylä in Finland from 11 to 16 November. Besides presenting that, I also got an opportunity to learn many more things besides just teaching them. I also got to learn many new skills regarding AI and many other things like trying 3D things hands on. A totally wonderful and learning experience for me. So at my last day in Finland, I received a call that the president Microsoft India, Mr. Anant Maheshwari, would like to meet me when I come back to India the day when I land. So I was pretty cool about it that it might be just a meeting, like meeting him in his office, a 15 minutes interaction, and then I go back home. But when I went there, I realized, like when I reached the venue at the EDO days at Microsoft, that he will be talking to me on the stage in front of educators all over the country. And I was shocked, like, wow, like he's going to ask me questions in front of them. And like this picture that you see here, like literally my legs were shaking, but I kept my cool and I answered the questions confidently. And like that was my first experience, like, talking to an eminent personality and in front of like wonderful educators all over the country. Fast forward next year, I also got an opportunity to meet the CEO of Microsoft, Ms. Satya Nadella, at the Young Innovator Summit in Delhi, wherein this moment, as you see here, was when he asked, like, how do you use Minecraft for education? And I told him about the journey. So, like, before he met me, he'd also shared about my journey at the Bangalore Summit that he did the day before. And that for me, it was a very inspiring and delightful moment indeed to have such an eminent person talk about me. And I like was deeply humbled and grounded to listen such wonderful appreciating words from him. And like also there was a conference that he did with Miss Anant Maheshwari on the same day. So there's a lot that I took back from that day, a lot of new things to learn about and amplify them in my life. So to give an example of certain interdisciplinary lessons that I have made inside Minecraft, so in English there's Harry Potter, in literature, in maths there is area and volume, history there's Epic Ramayana, the Egyptian civilization, geography there's science like say matter and chemistry, respiratory system and biology, motion in one dimension and physics, there's art, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, in computer science there's cybersecurity. Until date, I've been able to make 100 plus lessons inside Minecraft for classroom engagement that map around what we study along with the sustainable development goals as well. Well, this is an example of the world that showcases storytelling through Minecraft, and this indeed is the world that is the magical world of books leading to SDGs 2030. I hope you can hear it. Like I did share the sound, but I still hope you can hear that. Just a second.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Technocrat NJ.
Can anybody give me a sign if you can hear that? We're able to hear that audio like, hello everyone, welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll play the video for you.
And I'm now back to showcase one of my favorite worlds which I have created in Minecraft. That is, oh, wait a second. Let you guess what is that? Okay, I'll give you two hints. The first hint is that these are book series. No. Okay. It is written by Sharon. Correct. You got it right. It is Harry Potter world. And I have created this world in my project. That is Magical Project Book leading to SDGs 2030. This world is mapped around the SDGs goal number 4, which is quality education. And I created this world because I believe that each one has a right to equity education. And as it is said that the human mind loves to play games. So I thought, why not to create the things that I read into Minecraft world and also prove that visual learning is amazing. Now, first of all, we press this button here to teleport ourselves to this place. And here we have a movie map where I'm showing all the series of Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling also, telling about the series she's written. Now let's move on to the entrance. Does this card remind you of something? Yes. It is a card that is in Harry's forehead. Now let's enter towards Hogwarts. Now here we have two NPCs who are telling us about how Harry was earlier with the Muggles and how an owl was sent to this place and told him that you have been accepted to Hogwarts. Let's move on and go inside. We have to follow this path to move on and check out the things which we have in the world. One of my favorites is Hagrid's hut. Unfortunately, we don't have him here, but don't worry, we'll meet him later on. Next, we have the scary one willow and also the secret shack designed under it, and I'm going to show you that because it is a secret. And let's see if it's a secret. Yeah, too many secrets now. Okay, let's move on. Now we have the best thing which I like in the Harry Potter world, which is the Quidditch pitch. I'm telling you, if this thing would have been in the Muggle world, which I'm speaking in the Wizarding world language, I would have surely learned it, and I would just love to fly on the broom And also try to start a Quidditch World Cup team. Yes, it's one of my dreams. Okay, now we have the changing rooms for the opposite teams. And now let's move on. Here we have the broom shed. Hello, Mr. Oliver Wood. Hello, how are you? I'm good. Perfect. And here we have the brooms, and I created them using hay bales and end rod because I thought I couldn't find something perfect than this to make a broom. And also, this area leads us to the flat area of line lessons. And finally, we have our broom house, where the children did lots of experiments. My favorite was inadequate. That's right, I still can't forget that. Now, let's move on to the main part, which is the band facts. So, let's go on. Are you enjoying this, right? I hope you are. Let's continue. And we're about to reach, and we have reached. Yes, here we have the huge wine house. I just love that flag. And here we have Harry Potter on his fireboard. Hi, Harry Potter. He says, hey guys, I hope you're in Hogwarts. And I remember me. Yes, we are. And now let's enter inside. So I made it a little bit old and tattered by putting more blocks and some stairs to show that it's not quite new because Hogwarts is quite old. And inside also be showing the vines, leaves and grass. And here are the cauldrons of the children and the big magically sent to dormitories. Now, let's move on to the courtyard by these stairs, which would further lead us to the Great Hall. And we're about to reach to the Great Hall and the courtyard. So here we have reached the courtyard. Good evening, Professor McGonagall. And it is also one of my favorite places because I just love the sorting ceremony. And also, at the end of the year, the best house is announced. And here we have Albus Dumbledore. And this is a fantastic view of the flying torches. I just love these so much. And let's move on to check out other things which we have on this floor. Here we have a tower that leads you to show an entire view of Hogwarts. And also the giant octopus lake. Here we have the giant octopus lake. And also Ron telling us about it. So I hope you like tour of my Harry Potter world. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel.
Well, thank you so much for watching that. And excuse me for coughing in between. I actually have a sore throat. Well, this world basically showcased, how basically represented the entire Harry Potter world, and I've weaved the story of, how people used to basically live in the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And this world is made out of my imagination that I didn't watch the movie before actually creating this world. And it also gives a live example of, literature as a chapter. If Harry Potter was something that we read in school, that's how students can represent or can, come and learn that through the book, through Minecraft instead of just using the book, but to complement the book, the word can be used to redefine the concept, or just to give a recap, like to give you another example. We're doing Macbeth in grade 11 right now as a play of Shakespeare. So I had asked my English teacher that after she's done with the entire act, I want her to use the Minecraft world to give a summation of whatever we've done, and she agreed to that because when we're actually reading it, we imagine like it on our own, like, yeah, that's how I feel like, the entire thing would be going on. But if we actually view it through the game, also from somebody's imagination, so, that's also when we create a different point of view that, helps us to understand how different, ideas are created when people work together. So when we're working, in teams, there's specific ideas given on by people, and when they're merged, the best ideas created. Similarly, like even through this, when we have our own point of view, reading somebody else's point of view also gives us more insight. and especially reading, viewing the world, an entire story of Macbeth through a game is really interesting. And like, since I had seen it on my own as well, I got pretty intrigued by it as well. Well, here, this is basically an example of a world that I created that I did for an internship back in last year in Finland. I went to Peacepala Youth Summer Camp, and my internship there was basically to create their entire campus into Minecraft. So it was just a way, for people to view this world and come and see what Peacepala's Youth Summer Camp looks like. So people who just can't go there and visit it for themselves, they can download this world and view Peacepala, through a game, explore it for themselves, and of course, can come next year during the vacations. So this word basically helped us to connect people from all over the world, from different countries, like from France, from India, from Finland, from different countries around the world, and exploring the entire campus through a game, solving challenges, mysteries. And also this world was like something that's never ending, because whoever's coming in this world is giving their own additions to it, like whatever they want to add to this world as well. So basically, this was a small miniature form of what their entire campus looks like, and that was basically my internship to create the entire Peaceful Youth Summer Camp into Minecraft education. And also that we were there for the Future Skills Conference to present this Peaceful Minecraft to the people and who were coming from different, places and cities to come and see how different campuses are created inside Minecraft. Besides that, like this is an example of when we had the COVID lockdown, everybody was thinking like what's gonna happen. Like, we just life is basically stopped for people. But for me, there was no lockdown for one thing, that was sharing and learning, and I utilized that time to enhance my skills, at the same time also inspiring fellow students. So whatever thing that I learned, I kept on sharing with people in my immediate vicinity and with teachers across the country and around the world as well. So my sole purpose was to focus on the SUG for game-based, along with game-based learning. And most importantly, why I started all of this was also because of helping girls come forward in the fields of STEM, because there was once this competition that I had won and had been announced as the top tech savvy student of India around the country. And the top 10, I was the only girl. So I was surprised, like, because girls, scientifically proven, like, are more creative. But the thing that lacks, I think, is motivation. So, excuse me. Through this club, my sole purpose was to invite them to come learn from me. At the same time, it's a platform for them to come forward and share their learnings. It's not just that they're here to learn whatever I have to share, but also it's a platform for them where their voice is heard and their skills are valued, where they can improve their confidence, speak out and participate more around the world. And now, when I see these students starting their own ventures, inspiring their fellow, students, that gives me the feeling of motivation that yes, I've given my 1 cent, the motto of my life is each one, teach ten. And here are some of the examples of motivation that I've got from the educators who I know online, or from students in my school who have trained about Minecraft. And they just give me that the motivation force to keep on continuing with what I love to do. And here are more examples of the educators who I know and few friends that I know online who kept on sharing, about all the work that I've been doing. And also, like, when people tag me online that, we had won this so and so competition. So that again gives me in the feeling of happiness and gratitude that I'm able to give out something back to the community, to that community who has given a lot of skills to me to improve myself as a person. So till date, I have been able to create 500 plus tutorials, 100 plus Minecraft lessons, conducted 200 plus workshops, given out 100 plus talks, and collaborated with 98 plus countries. And my book, Each One Teach 10, is out on Amazon, which you all can go and check out, which I'll talk about later as well. So when it comes to, I had learned about entrepreneurship courses as well back in the lockdown. And my purpose of starting this thing that you see in front of you is my merchandise, Each One Teach 10 Club. Well, this I believe if somebody is wearing your motto, it gives they're just having them wearing whatever you believe as a life's motto, give them the motivation as well to be that person to take that motto forward and spread it to somebody else. So that is why I started this merchandise, which has two parts: animal symbolism and Minecraft characters. So most of the earnings that I get from this go to the NGOs that take care of animals as well as plant trees. And like I also have gifted some of them out to people who I know. And when I see them wearing the shirt and taking the motto forward each time gives me the hope of inspiration to keep on stepping and never look back. So this is the story of my book. Well, I had written my book for a very long time and I was looking for a publisher. So I tagged one of my dearest educators online, Miss Mary Alice, and I asked her, like, I'm looking for a publisher, kindly suggest me. So she suggested me with Dr. Matthew X. Joseph, who is the founder of X Factor, and along with also Mr. Brian Aspinall, who is founder of Codebreaker. Well, I connected with him the next day. We signed the contract. As soon as I signed the contract, somebody was there already editing my book, and just a few months later, in January, there was my book published. So I would like to give a shout out to both of them, to three of them, Miss Mary Alice, Dr. Matthew, and Mr. Brian, for helping me publish my book. And also, the purpose of writing this book was again to spread the motto, to spread the inspiration that even you have that X factor to come forward and to share your voice with people. And every small incident inspires you. So just look for that. And if you think that's your life's inspiration, just take it forward and just keep on continuing on your path, because you always get motivation from people. You always get different kind of awards, but those are just a way to tell you that you are doing the right thing and you must keep on innovating more and more. So here you can see I was signing the contract of the book, and just the next day the announcement was made, and that's how the book looks like. So is the front cover of like a girl holding a pot, and with different inspiration, different ideas that kept coming in, it finally grew into a tree. So that's like basically purpose of creating this book cover, and this was a collaboration with Miss Heather. So I can see, like, you can see young students from her grade holding the books in their hands, and this gives like the cute feeling of children holding the books in their hands. And I got also some cards written by them, so they created a few drawings, like of the book, out of the sketches that I've added in my book as well, that I personally created them out. So that again, like gives you a motivation to keep on moving forward in life. And here are some of the educators who I know online posting the photo of the book, that they read it and they really liked the book. And this was one of the biggest moments that I really enjoyed seeing on online, was the FETC event, wherein Dr. Mary Alice and Dr. Matthew gave out around 100 books to the educators who had come to the event. And this actually made me emotional, seeing the motto of my life, and the inspiration that I've had for all these years, people holding them in form of a book, reading them, tagging me online. So again, gives me motivation to keep on continuing. And I'm also writing my second book, which will be out soon, probably this year. So this is basically, I actually also started my own website, where that's tamayoshi.com, where I, added all about myself, my achievements, along with, where people can find my lessons that they can use free of cost, to download Minecraft-based lessons, along with, my podcast, my videos on YouTube channel, which are, very diverse on photo editing, on coding, on Minecraft, on podcast, and many more. And this is my YouTube channel. It's called Technocrat, and so you can always go check the YouTube channel out. And besides that, I also have a podcast of my own. Each one teaches an amazing world of STEM. And the basic, purpose of starting this podcast was, I had been learning about podcasting back in 2020, and I'm a kind of person who believes like if you're learning something, then just design, think, and implement that out. So I launched my first episode on 14th November 2020, and this podcast is about how STEM can be used in different classrooms, and it doesn't matter what subject or grade level is being taught. STEM can be incorporated into every classroom, And my wonderful guests who interviewed till date, 64, 65th coming out tomorrow, believe in the same thing as well. So this is a platform where I can learn from my guests, have an audience who learns from my guests, and also give my guests a platform to come and share their learnings to the people all over the world who are listening to them and incorporate their learning in the classrooms for making the classrooms more lively. Here is like a short breakthrough of some of the podcast, some of the guests whom I've had on my podcast.
And when I was thinking about this, one of the stories.
And like this was like basically the moment when I was talking about Mr. Nadella. So this is the time when he actually talked about me during the Bangalore summit. So before I move on to that, before I move on talking about more of the podcast, I would like to show this video to you because like this was basically that inspired me and gave me the inspiration to actually empower more people. So I'll play the video for you.
And when I was thinking about this, one of the stories that I came across, which is very inspiring, is of Namya Joshi. She's a 13-year-old in Punjab who created course material using Minecraft. And so she's now created all this material. And she's now trained herself 100 plus teachers around using Minecraft. And it's so great to see that through gaming, you can in fact have an entire set of people get attracted to STEM education. And so Namia's story I thought was a very inspiring way to end our sort of discussion today, because ultimately it is every developer out here who gets inspired to do something that has never been done before in the world. Thank you all very, very much.
And that's exactly what I also said, and I learned from him that we all get inspired from small things that just happen around us, and we make that our sole purpose in life to achieve and to empower people with.
And
So before I move on, like I talked about a podcast. So I also would like to talk about what exactly a podcast is, and the audience listening to us right now, how they could actually, start their own podcast, and that is again a way of sharing your voice to people around the world. So a podcast is basically a digital audio file that can be made available online, where you can share your learnings, your experiences, invite guests, interview them, and post it online. It can be used and accessed through mobile devices or computers. And it's usually recorded as a series. Like I said, I have my podcast with 64 episodes. So that's a series of episodes that I've created. And it's just not like you start a podcast, one episode, and you're done. You need to actually, keep on adding more and more episodes. And it can work with the help of Android and iOS phones as well. So the purpose of actually making a podcast is you can teach your students skills that last lifetime. And this gives an opportunities for teachers to easily, or even students to use engaging audio content to listen to that and focus on what the person is speaking. And you can basically listen to this wherever and wherever possible. And also it helps you enhance your listening skills. And like you might be thinking that I'm talking about visual learning as well. But I think even podcasts and audio learning is also one of the greatest way because when it comes to audio, you can imagine what the person is saying. You can imagine in your own brain and create your own visual image about that. And that, my friends, can be nothing better than actually seeing something also. Even both things are really good way. But when it comes to listening things, that's when you can imagine your own, creation of what the person is saying. And that helps to enhance your creativity as well. So, some steps on how to start your podcast. So, first important thing is to identify your passion. Like, what are you most passionate about? And, would like to keep your podcast more very consistent. So, like, I'm passionate about STEM and classroom engagement. And that is what, helped me to keep my podcast on for 64 episodes. And this year in November, we'll have the third year anniversary for my podcast. Then second is narrow your niche. So if you have many areas that you're passionate about, so you can narrow it down and choose one specific concept that you want to focus upon. Like engaging students in classroom is a broad concept, but I chose STEM and classroom engagement as my niche that I want to focus upon. Then third and most important is to find a good hosting. So like the one that I've been using is Spotify for podcasters. before known as Anchor.fm, now Spotify for podcasters. So that's the platform that you can use. Then is to design everything. Like you can design your, your cover art for your podcast page, for if you want to create your own Instagram handle. So for that, so basically designing the creative covers. And the go-to tool for me is Canva and also Adobe Express. Fifth is to get equipment, like if you're doing video podcast, live streams, you can get, a proper device like a computer, a mic, a ring light, everything set up, and then you just have to record your first episode. Make sure when it comes to recording your first episode, you have a script ready so that, like even till date, I keep a script ready, like with the questions that I have to speak, even though I'm like now very conferred with my podcast and how to do, the entire thing, but I still keep a script ready so that, I can go in the entire procedure and I don't miss anything out. And it also helps you to be more confident and stay in touch with the topic that you're talking with your guest. So let's just understand about a little bit of the five W's in one H of podcasting, because as I said, podcasting helps us to enhance our communication skills, gives us voice, choice, agency, gives us the authenticity, and helps to enhance our digital citizenship skills as well. So, what? First of all, you need to know what exactly is the podcast, what is your passion, have a theme for the podcast, like I said, mine STEM and classroom engagement. Most importantly, have the equipment ready for your podcast, like I mentioned, like a mic, computer, or a ring light. And even if you want to, record on your phone, you can just get a collar mic on your phone and then record and post it out. Who? Of course, your guests. And if you want to keep it a single podcast, again, it has to be who is you. So if you're having a podcast with your guests, you need to research well on who could be the perfect guest for the podcast and the perfect guest for the topic you want to discuss on your podcast. So search online, get the social media handles, interact with them, you know, ask them for referrals, and also send a formal invitation to talking about your podcast, what you want to do with your podcast in the future, and why should they be there on your podcast, to give them the reason that, like, I see this thing in you, so I want you to be on my podcast and inspire my audience with all the learnings that you have in your entire journey till date. Where? Well, you can record your podcast on Spotify for podcasters. I mean, post it. And for recording, we have Zencaster, you have Microsoft Flip, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. Anything can be done with Audacity and Soundtrap. Publishing using Spotify for podcasters. The promos can be with, Dribble. Editing can be with Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe Express. Lastly, also like now second lastly, when. So always you need to remember that you keep a frequency of your podcast. So it's like if you post a podcast today, that's 11th of August, and then you post your podcast on 31st of November. That's a long span. Like people will forget that you even had a podcast. So you have to be very consistent. That if you post a podcast today, 2 weeks or 1 week, you need to keep a gap. And even if you keep it 3 weeks, but you have to be consistent. That if I posted a podcast today, then again after 3 weeks, after 3 weeks, after 3 weeks. So you will have a consistent audience who will come and listen to you and will wait for your podcast to come. And most importantly, inform them that, hello everyone, I'm posting a podcast. Do come and join in and listen to me with so and so guest. And also do post trailers to give the excitement to your guests to come, to the audience along with your guests to come and listen to your podcast. How? Plan, record, edit, publish. Simple. So just plan which date, record it, edit it, and publish it to the world for listening to you. So if you wish to be a guest on my show and you have the skills, about STEM and classroom engagement, or anything wonderful that you have done for, making your students more engaged in the classroom, you can of course go scan this QR code, and it is a form that you have to fill, and I will surely reach out to you to be my guest on my show. Each one teach them an amazing world of STEM. And that is my podcast. It's available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on Radio FM, on Amazon, and many more. Here are some of the testimonies that I've had from my podcast guests, when I read, all the wonderful things that they've written, it gives me the, inspiration to post more podcasts, to record more podcasts, And also, wherever I can improve, I love to do that because I seek for inspiration and improvisation as well. And here's like a little bit about the global impression of where I've been part of like Minecraft Student Ambassador, Youth Ambassador at 100, a part of the NYAS, a youth facilitator at the Goals Project, a Pathfinder, the first student at the Global Impact cohort, um, and instruct us certain platforms, doing internships. And one of them that I'm really proud of that after many years of working around Minecraft is actually becoming one of the student ambassadors by Microsoft at the Minecraft edition. So all of these things have inspired me to meet new people, to learn from them, and imply those learnings in my life to become a better person. So, in the end, I would just like to say let each one person teach 10, share their learning with people, inspire people, touch lives, and let the ripple reaction create changes and make you a change maker and inspire you to make others a change maker. Thank you so much. Each one teach 10. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Namia. Wow, wow, wow. That was powerful. That was
Thank you so much.
powerful.
Thank you.
That
And I
was
hope
powerful.
like I was
Congratulations on
hopping
so
in
many
between.
things.
I'm sorry about that.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And also, please, you need to take care of yourself. Namia, that was powerful. Congratulations on book. That was massive. And also, congratulations on your podcast. I think you said you were having the 65th one or something. That's powerful. That's powerful. Well, this
Thank
is
you.
yeah, this is a critical moment for us in this conference. I saw the video when you met the CEO of Microsoft, and I put it there. The future meets the present. It's so powerful. Teresa, you want to say some things? I you want to say some things, Tsunami?
You know I do. Namia, you are absolutely inspirational. You are exactly what the future looks like. I love what Adebayo said here. It's meeting the president of Microsoft. It's the present meeting the future, and that is really inspirational. I had so many questions, and every time when I formulate a question in my mind, it's like you answer it already. I do feel that you are multi-talented, and that yes, all we can say is wow, wow, wow. I do have a question though.
Sure.
Who is your inspiration?
For me, I think I've always said this. I have five pillars in my life. First is my mom, who always, tells me to never give up, even if it's the hardest situation of life. My father, who tells me to keep on innovating on the best thing you've made, but just keep on improvising on that. My grandparents, who tell me different stories through which I keep on learning new skills and life skills to be more clear. My principal in my school to be the fourth, who always empowered me and appreciated me on every endeavor of mine. And lastly, I would say myself, because if I wouldn't help myself, wouldn't motivate myself, then even if I had the best positive aura around me, nobody can. So I'd say these five are the pillars of creating a strong foundation inside me. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. I love that.
Thank you.
You also spoke about an X factor. When did you identify your X factor?
Well, about that, I would say that the X factor of mine is the ability to share with people because I've never hesitated in sharing. I love to empower people with like whatever I keep on learning, I keep on sharing. So when I, started my motto, each one teach 10, I think that exactly is the X factor. Like you can, you 10x the entire thing and, keep on inspiring people. So I think the X factor about myself, I believe, is I love to share with people and take them along with myself to share, learn, and grow together.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I'm sure that when you started out and you had your vision, that vision has already materialized. So if you think about the future, what do you envision for you in the future?
For me in the future, well, I see myself again empowering people with each one teach 10. Besides that, I'm working on a startup that focuses on skill based learning lesson plans in the classroom, along with students being provided the access to profile building. So I've been working on that for the past 1 year, and I wish to launch it in the coming year. I did get like one round of funding, like as a grant, but I'm improvising on my startup and I wish to launch it in the future. So it's way beyond like just game based learning, it's skill based learning and empowering students with what they need to have a good profile and that can help them with the university requirements. So I see myself like, sharing that thing out as application and website in the future. Besides that, I'd say as a responsible citizen of this entire world who loves to meet new people, learn from them, and share with them.
It's fabulous. You epitomize the kind of the learner that we envision for the future. So I am hoping that the title for your next book is Each One Inspire Millions, because that is what you do. You are definitely inspiration. Well done and
Thank you.
congratulations. You are magnificent.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Namia. Yeah, so we stay connected. Trust me, I'll keep coming around, and so many things that we can do again, again and again, even in the future. Thank you,
Sure.
Namia. It's been a nice time with you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Yeah, Teresa, that was a powerful moment. That was a powerful moment. Um, our next speaker is here, and I need to bring her up quickly. Yeah, again, to our audience listening, there's still more to come, right? We've got three more sessions today, and then tomorrow we'll continue. This conference is so powerful, and as you listen to the speakers, be moved to take steps. You need to start doing some things differently. This conference is going to move you to start doing new things. This conference is going to bring about a new beginning in your profession as an educator. Um, um, yeah, just expect that, right? So everything you see is possible. You can do it, and you can make it happen, right? So yeah, I'm just going to say few things about the next speaker, Shelley. Um, so I met Shelley on LinkedIn. So she posted a video about a little boy, and then the boy was saying some amazing things um, about I think I can't remember then what he thinks about learning. She'll help me out when she comes up. I can't remember actually exactly, but she's gonna help me out, right? But so I was like, wow, wow, wow. I love this. I like to know the parent behind this. I like to know who is the brain behind. Then we had the Zoom call 20, and I shared the things we were doing with her, and sharing the same passion and the work she's doing in Colombia. Shelley is an illustrated history of successful demonstration within the primary and secondary education industry. She is skilled in diversity, equity, and inclusion development, restorative practices, and creating inclusive and supportive learning environments. Deeply passionate about using education to liberate. With an experience spanning, close to 2 decades, she currently serves as the Director of Learning and Development Science in the District of Columbia Public Schools, while also providing independent consulting services to educators and school leaders across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor at K-12 2030 2023 edition to have with us um, Shelley in this conference. Hi, Shelley, can you hear me? Ah, I know you're speaking, but I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Very well, very well, very well, very well, very well. Yeah, very well. So Shelley, we're just gonna give you this our audience. Um, yeah. So Shelley is going to be speaking school leadership and administration in a disruptive way. This is the first that's the first presentation for today. This is not school spotlight, it's not a last spotlight, but it's a serious presentation. Speaking to school leaders this time around, and it's focused on school leadership and administration in a disruptive age. We know the times that we are in, and how do you perform? How do you get effective as a leader? That's what Shelley is going to be taking us through right now. Shelley, we're going to hand over to you, if that's fine.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me.
Yeah, very well. Very well. We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. My name is Shelly Anderson, and I am presenting today on school leadership and administration in a disruptive age. I want to start by saying how excited I am to be joining this global community of educators. I feel like I am speaking to my family, even though I have not met many of you before. I wanted to take a few moments just to explain my background so you know that when I'm speaking today, I'm really speaking from my heart and from experience. In addition to being an educator, I always start by saying that I'm also a mother. This is my son, Trey. That's who was on the video. Trey is 9 years old and he is the love of my life. I'm also married. I'm a wife, a daughter, a writer, and I also like to say an advocate because in every space that I sit in, I see my role in those spaces as being an advocate for children around the world. In my current role, I work for the District of Columbia Public Schools as the Director of Learning and Development. And in the past roles, I've been a principal, an assistant principal, a literacy and school improvement coach, a science and English teacher. So I've had a multitude of roles. Today's topic is expansive whenever we think about the idea of what it means to really sustain leadership in this time. And honestly, we could have done an entire conference just on this subject. But for today's learning, I'm going to key in on just a few things. Sustaining leadership in dynamic K-12 schools demands a multifaceted approach rooted in visionary leadership, collaboration, adaptability, and a commitment to ongoing growth. So I want this to be the core learning that we take with us today. And if I do my job correctly, by the end of this presentation, you will have some key strategies to help you to be able to accomplish all of these things, because this is really what it takes to be resilient and sustainable in today's leadership world for K-12. The first strategy that I want to talk about is always lead with why. And I'm going to start by talking about my why. So this is my son. As I said, he's 9 years old. What I didn't say is that when he was 3, we noticed that he had some differences in his learning. And by the time he went to kindergarten, the school principal started to call me and say that he was not going to class, he was not learning, he was not doing what he needed to do. But I, of course, knew that my son was brilliant, and he is. And so I was wondering, what is going on? We found out that he actually has a form of high functioning autism. And so I worked with the school to educate them on the learning difference and also to make sure that they saw him through an asset based approach. So often we look at kids in a deficit mindset, but looking at what he brought to the table. I am excited to report that this school year, he made a perfect score on his end of year test. He has outshined. He had reads at an 8th grade level and has been able to accomplish things that people could only dream of. It is that shift in mindset that has helped him to accomplish this. Now, obviously, I had the background of being a principal and a teacher, and so I was able to educate the school staff. But the truth is, all children should have the same supportive learning environments. All children should be supported. Now, without my advocacy, he might have become one of the students who we read about where he's just considered the bad kid, right? The disruptive kid, because he learns differently. And so this is my why. This is why I do the things that I do. Yes, it's a career, it's a job, but at my core, it is important that all kids have the same opportunities as my son. So why am I taking the time to tell this story? Well, strategy number 1 is that you have to find your why and you have to lead from whatever that why is. This is not a new headline to any of us. We all know that the teacher shortage was exacerbated by the pandemic. I will add to that, so was the school leadership shortage. People started to say, this is not sustainable. I cannot do this. I have to move on. Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. In his book, Start With Why. He introduces this concept of the golden circle. He says every organization on the planet knows what they do. Some organizations know how they do it. Very few organizations know why they do what they do. Why is not about making money, that's a result. Why is a purpose, cause, or belief. It's the very reason your organization exists. So this is the number 1 strategy that I want to share with all of you. You have to not only find your why, and it has to be very personal, but you have to help the teachers in your organization find their why. Because without that, it is going to be difficult to get people to push through the challenging circumstances that we all know are coming. Here are some ways for school leaders to keep your why at the forefront. Number 1, storytelling for purpose. Have your team encourage your team to share personal stories and have your staff share stories that highlight their impact on students. Just one way to reconnect to the why. Reflect and reconnect. Regularly reflect on your leadership journey and your deeper purpose and create space for your staff to do the same. Craft personal mission statements and vision boards. Now, this is an activity that I like to do at the beginning of the year, but you know what? I like to revisit it all throughout the year. Have each educator create a personal mission statement and a vision board and a place where they put that vision board that they can see. I like to ask questions like, at the end of this year or in 5 years, what is your vision for the students in your class? If you could paint a picture of what they would be doing because of the work in your class, what would it look like? And then I have them add real pictures and take the time and then post that. Once again, it is a way to keep them mentally strong and tough whenever things are challenging. Number 4, lessons with meaning. Connect lessons to real life impact and student growth. We know that we are at our best whenever we are teaching things that have a personal connection for us and that personally connect to kids' lives. Lean into this as the K-12 leader and educator and make sure that they know that that is what you are expecting them to do. Last, supportive connections. Plan regular times for personal and professional connections to stay accountable and motivated. I know that we talk a lot about professional learning communities, and often when we're talking about professional learning communities, we're talking about looking at data. That's extremely important. What we don't talk about enough is opportunities for these professional learning communities to make personal connections. Everybody needs a support group, especially you as the principal. The principalship can be extremely lonely. Find colleagues that you can connect with, find colleagues that your teachers can connect with, and plan spaces and structures for them to be able to stay accountable and motivated. So I'm going to take a second just to allow you to reflect on these 5 moves. I will tell you that I have used all 5 of these regularly. I know they work, and I hope that you will incorporate this into your practice. In addition, I would like to remind you that the book that I referenced is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I believe it is a must-have for every K-12 educator, and something that you can use not only for yourself, but with your staff to help them keep their why at the forefront. Okay, we're going to move on to strategy number 2, creating supportive learning environments for all. And I like to say all means all. Sometimes there is this theory that we are doing it for all kids, but then the second that we get the one kid that is frustrating, right? You guys know who I'm talking about. The one kid that tries our patience, the one kid that gets on our nerves. We say, oh, I can't do it for this kid. That is not the mindset that we can have, nor can it be the mindset that our teachers have. All means all. So especially for the kids that get on your nerves, the kids in the margins, what is it that we can do to create learning environments that benefit them? I'm going to hold up another resource. I'm big on sharing resources. This book is called Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, and it is by Dr. Zaretta Hammond, another excellent resource. Zaretta Hammond asked the question, whose culture are we responding to? She says, all instruction is culturally responsive. The question is, to whose culture is it responding? Now, that to me is a powerful question, because often we are responding to a culture that is different than the students that we have in our classrooms. And so as educators, as leaders, we have to make sure that our classrooms are responsive to the culture of our students. This speaks to the issue of equity and ultimately justice. Okay, so here I have 4 boxes. Inequality, we all know what that looks like. Unequal access to opportunity. Equality, evenly distributed tools and assistance. Okay, the same for everybody, regardless of circumstances. This is often, I think, what our school system looks like. We say, hey, well, we gave them the chance was there, all right? But if you're like this little girl on the side, you know that she is already too far away. So even though she has equal opportunity to this student over here, the system is not set up in her favor, and so she ends up moving out. Now, we get a little bit closer to what we're looking for here with equity. And a few years ago, equity was what we asked for, right? Oh, we lean into equity. We customize tools that identify and address inequality. So equity, by definition, is giving people what they need, okay, not the same thing, but what they need to be successful. So you see here now, this young lady has a ladder. That is what she needs to be successful, as this young lady also has a ladder that allows her to be successful. What we are leaning into now is past equity, and it is justice. Justice says we fix the system, okay, to offer equal access to both tools and opportunity. So you see the system here is represented by the tree, and the tree is leaned over to one side. That's the root cause here. That's the issue. Justice would mean we find a way to fix that root cause. We are not settling for the status quo. That's what it means to be a leader in a disruptive age. It's to actually be brave enough to fix the systemic roots of injustice that occur throughout our global education systems. That is the only way that we can sustainably offer equal access to opportunities for all kids. Here are some strategies for creating supportive learning environments for all. Number one, cultural inclusivity. All right, now people say this all the time and it sounds really good, but it's pretty simple. You have to get to know who the kids are in your school, in your classrooms, and then make learning relevant to them. All right. You cannot do this by just a monolithic stance on, oh, this is what Black kids like, or this is what brown kids like. No, you have to get to know the kids that you have in front of you, and you have to get to know their families. And then you need to adapt the lessons and the learning to make sure that it is relatable and engaging for all of them. Personal connections. You have to get to know your students, right? It is possible to teach students who don't like you, but it is not as effective. It is best when you get to know your students, you build relationships with them, you build trust with them, and they have a sense of belonging. In the work that I do here in the District of Columbia, we regularly monitor kids by one question only. Do you feel like you belong in your school? The data that we have found has shown that when kids feel a sense of belonging, their academic scores increase. Guess what? When kids don't feel a sense of belonging, they do not have academic scores that increase. That's how important and powerful it is to make sure that kids feel like they belong. And that's why to be a leader who is truly reaching out for change, you have to make sure that you and your teaching staff are fostering a sense of belonging. Number three, inclusive curriculum. We have to make sure that we have curriculum that reflects diverse cultures, histories, and contributions. Empower students to see themselves in the materials they study. Now, I know that this can be challenging. As a principal, I was not always the one who chose the curriculum that my students had. But you know what? As a principal, it was my responsibility to make sure that if that curriculum did not reflect diverse cultures, that I was working with my teachers to supplement that curriculum. That is what you have to do to make sure that you are empowering all students. Varied instructional styles offer a range of teaching methods to accommodate different learning preferences and strengths. Every student has a strength. Find out what it is and use that strength to help all students excel. Empower student voices. Encourage open discussions where students can share their perspectives. Okay, this is the power of dialogue in discourse. It has to be a dialogic conversation, a back and forth, where kids understand that their voice matters and is a required element for learning. Responsive assessment. Develop assessments that value diverse ways of thinking and expression. You don't always have to have a test that is just a checkbox or fill in the bubbles. Allow kids to have a choice on how they will be assessed. Maybe they can produce a podcast like the young lady that spoke before. Maybe they can do a piece of artwork that demonstrates their mastery. Get creative, get to know your kids, and allow them to demonstrate mastery in ways that resonate with who they are as people. And finally, we have to have safe and inclusive spaces. Kids have to feel respected and accepted. This only comes whenever we directly address bias, stereotypes, and microaggressions promptly. Now, I know that this can be difficult. I was a middle school principal, And so there are times, there are days when kids are saying, things back and forth, and it becomes tiring. Do I really have the energy to address this? But I will tell you this, it is necessary that we address any bias, stereotypes, or microaggressions that are said in our schools, because every child has a right to feel respected and accepted. All right, so I'm going to pause for a second to give you a chance to focus on these 7 things. Once again, I've broken them down into 7 strategies. So it sounds like, okay, here's the 7, but these are extremely difficult things to do all in their own right, but they are powerful. I want to also raise up the resource that I shared at the beginning by Dr. Zaretta Hammond, Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain. That is also another powerhouse resource that I feel like all K-12 educators should have in their library. It's one that I had in my library. I actually purchased a copy for all of the teachers in my school, and it is something that you will find extremely beneficial. Strategy number 3, addressing technical and adaptive challenges. Now, I like to call this what no one tells you about leadership, okay? Because to me, this speaks to the heart of why it is so hard to lead schools. There are 2 major types of challenges that happen. And by the way, this work comes from the work of Ronald Heifetz out of Harvard. I will make sure that you have access to his book at the end, but his book is called Leadership on the Line, and he talks about technical and adaptive challenges. Now, with technical challenges, you have a problem, there's a clear solution, you can fix the problem, you can monitor it and report out on it. It is pretty simple, straight line. Technical problems. Now, I'm not saying that those technical issues are not difficult, but they are nothing compared to adaptive challenges. I think adaptive challenges are the reason why our role is so hard. Adaptive challenges have to do with things that don't have a clear answer. You have to grasp the need. They're often feelings. They involve people, right? So it's not clear what the issue is. You have to hypothesize a solution, and often the solution you hypothesize is not the correct one. So then you may need to hypothesize a different solution. You have to test and learn and then continuously repeat the cycle. All right, now that's the theory. What does this look like in the real world? Well, most situations for K-12 present both technical and adaptive challenges. I'm going to walk you through a pretty simple demonstration of what this means. And we're going to use this idea of growing a garden at your school. So let's say that you decide that you want to grow a garden at your school, and you know that there's going to be a bit of challenges that you have to overcome. Now, some examples of technical challenges that you have to overcome is, well, you have to find the money, right? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to fund the garden? You need a plan for how you're going to connect your curriculum to the garden. And then also, you need somebody just to do the grunt work, right? Who's going to transport the dirt? Who's going to build the flower beds? Now, those are technical challenges, but they have a clear answer. You can think about them, you can plan for them, and you can move forward. Now, often, and K-12 leaders, you know this, that isn't the hard part. The hard part is this other part, what we call the adaptive challenges. Your teachers cannot agree on how to use the space. So perhaps you call a staff meeting and you say, we're going to build a garden. Everybody goes, yay! And then instantly after that, one person says, oh, it needs to be on the left side of the building. Another person says, no, it has to be on the right side of the building. And there's constant back and forth. Now that is an adaptive challenge, right? because often there are root causes there that are really not about the garden, right? Really, you have one group of teachers who don't like each other. You have one person who always feels like they have to be in charge. So now you have a people issue, and you have to figure out how to solve this people issue to make sure that this program is going to move forward. Next, you might have parents who feel it is a waste of resources. So maybe you tell your parent group about your school garden, and parents go, "Why are you building a school garden? We told you that we want to invest in computers, right? Why are you building a school garden? We need to have books instead." Also, an adaptive challenge. You have parents who did not perhaps learn by doing, and so they don't think that it is a valid way to spend resources for you to invest in such a large project. You have to now shift their mindset. That is an adaptive challenge. There's not an easy answer to this. That's not a one-stop shop. You can't do it one time, right? You're going to have to figure a way to communicate the value of this to parents who inherently perhaps don't see the value. What about this? Your assistant principal tells a few staff that we should invest in technology and not in the garden. Once again, an adaptive challenge. The person who is supposed to have your back, the person who's supposed to be on your side, you find out is going around and talking to staff and saying that they don't believe in the project either. How will you react? How will you respond? Now, I want to say this very clearly and openly. When people leave the principalship, when people leave leadership, it is rarely because of technical challenges. No matter how hard it is to find the money in the garden, that's not why people say, "I can't do this anymore." It is usually the adaptive challenges. It's because your staff is arguing. It's because the parent community you feel like has turned against you. It's because your leadership team has betrayed you. Those are the things that get people to leave leadership. And so, in order to stay in school leadership, we have to have open conversations, family, about how we deal with this. What are we going to do to address both technical and adaptive challenges? Here are some strategies for dealing with them. First of all, you have to recognize the distinctions. You have to know that whenever you're going to have a major project, there's going to be two very distinct set of challenges. And I like to now make a list of what they are. You have to blend solutions. You then have to have continuous assessment to see if it's working. You must use an adaptive leadership style. Now, an adaptive leadership style is named for those who know how to handle adaptive challenges, right? And that means you have to understand that solutions are not just simple fixes, okay? It can't live in you telling people how you're going to carry dirt back and forth in the garden. It has to get to the root issue about their beliefs and mindsets. Obviously, for teachers, for parents, and even your assistant principal, there is a mindset shift that has to be addressed. So before you can build the garden, you have to address for everyone why this is of value to your students. You've got to take a step back to move forward. That's what it means to be an adaptive leader. You have to share responsibility. Okay, so remember the issue of the teachers who say they want it on this side and want it on that side. How can you get them involved in positive ways to where everyone feels like it's a win-win? And finally, you have to empower others. Take the viewpoints of others seriously. Engage the parents who ask for other things and get them involved in the project. Show them examples of what happens whenever kids learn by doing. Show them data that shows that when you have classroom gardens, kids benefit not only in math and science, but also in literacy. Make sure that they understand that you value what they're saying as well. Yes, you're right. We value books. Yes, we value technology. We also value this. That is what it means to be an adaptive leader and really have an adaptive leadership style. Once again, this work comes from Ronald Heifetz. The book is called Leadership on the Line, and I will be sharing these resources at the end. But family, if you don't write down anything else today, please take some time to write down the difference between technical and adaptive challenges, because you're already dealing with them. And I want to make sure that you have a toolkit for successfully handling them. Okay, this is strategy number 4. Be brave, serve the work, take good care. I like to call this find the courage to dare greatly. Theodore Roosevelt, one of the presidents of the United States, wrote this. I actually had this sign in my classroom. I often quoted it to staff, and I'm going to read it to you today because if you're a school leader, if you have been a school leader, this is for you. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. I'll say the woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails, here it is, y'all, while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Now, the reason why I feel like this is so powerful is because when you are in school leadership, you are in the arena. And often it feels like even though you are doing your best to fight day after day after day, there are critics who are constantly telling you what you did wrong. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, right? Oh, look, you fell short here. Oh, you forgot about this. And that can be discouraging. That's why the words here matter. At least if you fail, you must fail while daring greatly. That has to be what we all seek to do. We can't worry about the critics who are calling out our shortcomings. We can't worry about how many times we fall down. We have to have the courage to get back up and keep trying. Now, this is the last resource that I'm going to shout out to you guys. It is a book by Brené Brown, and it is called Dare to Lead. It is a follow-up to her book, Daring Greatly, which uses the quote that I just gave from Theodore Roosevelt as the heart of it. Brené Brown says, a leader is anyone who takes responsibility for finding the potential in people and processes and has the courage to develop that potential. She talks about what it means to really have courage in leadership. And guess what? It's not what you think. She says that having courage in leadership actually dwells in your ability to be vulnerable and to stay vulnerable as a leader and lead with what she says is a whole heart. Here are the keys to how to do that. First, she says you must be brave. Being brave is tied to the courage building work in Dare to Lead. This means that you have to give feedback, but you have to do it in a respectful and daring way, right? It has to be honest, but it also has to be respectful. You have to be in tune with your own emotions and how those emotions affect your behavior. Now, leaders, I will tell you, this can be one of the hardest things to do. Who am I? How do I react to situations? And how can I demonstrate self-control? When there is setback, failure, or disappointment, you have to watch the story that you tell yourself and look for the learning in it. Okay. I like to say, I never lose, I always learn. You have to view setback, failure, and disappointment as an opportunity for growth. Now, this last one can be difficult. You must own your mistakes and discuss them in an open and honest way. When you mess up, you have to be willing to say to the people that you're leading, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, and we're going to move forward for this. That is how you create spaces that are not only vulnerable, but also courageous. It takes courage to admit that you've made a mistake. It takes courage to discuss it. It takes courage to look at failure as an opportunity to move forward. That's what it means to be brave in this work. Next, serve the work. Serve the work is about stewardship. You have to know that whenever you are leading for a purpose. You take responsibility for the community and consumers' experience. This is my school. I am responsible for the energy that is going on in my school. I am responsible for the learning that happens here. You also have to be very responsible for the energy that you bring into situations. So you have to work to stay positive. Now, I will tell you as a school leader, this can be one of the hardest things, especially whenever you feel like you've been in the arena and all the critics are pushing you down. How do you stay positive in those situations? But I will tell you, it is necessary as the leader that you find a way to bring positive energy into your building for the benefit of both your teachers and your students. And last, I take ownership of adapting to the fast pace of this environment. You have to be able to adapt and shift no matter what comes up. You have to do that as a leader, and you have to demonstrate positive adaptation, okay? It's one thing to adapt, but to whine about it. You have to not only adapt, but stay positive in the face of overwhelming odds. That's what it means to have stewardship of your work. Finally, take good care. Take good care has to do with the way that you treat your colleagues and the teachers in your care. You have to treat them with respect and compassion by responding appropriately and in a timely manner. You have to show continuous gratitude to your team, and you have to be mindful of their feelings and time. Often in education, we say, hey, it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. And it is all about the kids. But in order for it to be about the kids, it also has to be about the people who take care of our kids. So as school leaders, you have to ask yourself, how am I taking care of my teachers and staff? Do I respect them? Do I show compassion to them? Do I offer gratitude to the people who are on my team and tell them how much I value them? Now, remember the statistic that I showed at the beginning. Over half of our teaching colleagues are thinking about quitting. If we can't find ways to show people how much we value them, it's going to be hard for us to sustain a strong teaching staff across the globe. This has to be a key initiative for every K-12 leader, and you've got to find out how to do it on your own. It has to be authentic. People know whenever it's not really coming from your heart. So practice telling people thank you. Practice showing gratitude. Practice speaking life into them to make sure that they have the energy to give what they need to give to the students that all of you have in your care. Okay, so that brings us to the end of my presentation. I want to review the 4 resources that I shared. As I said, school leadership, we could talk for hours and hours on it, but to me, these are 4 of the strongest resources that I have used personally, that I have worked with other school leaders to use. The first one is Leadership on the Line. It's by Ronald Heifetz and Marty Linsky. It talks about adaptive and technical challenges. It talks about how to overcome them. To me, it is a must have, family. You've got to go out and get it. Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. Brene Brown talks about brave work, tough conversations, and whole hearts. It's about stewardship, being brave, and leaning into the work. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, remember, is the one who says that people don't buy what you do, people don't care about how you do it, they buy why you do it. You and your staff have to know what your personal connection is to the work, and you have to find a way to lean into that regularly to make sure that you're sustainable. And then Culturally Relevant Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. Powerhouse book on what it really means to be culturally responsive. She starts out by looking at the brain science that backs up the belief that cultural responsiveness is the only way to go whenever it comes to teaching. And she asks the question, she says, first, she makes the statement, all teaching is culturally responsive. And then the question is, whose culture are you responding to? That is going to be the question that you and your staff can use to guide a change in your practice to make sure that you are meeting the needs of the students in your school. Thank you again so much. My name is Shelly Anderson. It has been wonderful having the opportunity to speak to you. Here is my email address. It is kanderson11@yahoo.com. Feel free to send me an email, reach out to you. I want to leave you with a final word. It comes from Angela Davis. Angela Davis says, you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to hearing about your radical transformations. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Wow. That leaves so much to think about. That leaves, you see, the way I sound, I sound like I'm pregnant. Like, so many things um, I'm trying to put them together. So I need to speak softly so you can understand the extent of what I carry inside of me right now. That was so powerful. Thank you. Indeed, you spoke from your heart. I could feel it. Teresa, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think when we listen to people who address leadership, I think we constantly want to hear. So how do we do it? We know the why, we know all of the other things. It's how. Thank you for a very effective toolkit, because I think that carries value, which is another word that it was constantly throughout the presentation, something that was prominent, value. And I think the one that definitely I would like to highlight, serve the work, because I think that underlines everything. And if we serve the work, everything else can come from that. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, let me see. We have some comments from our audience. Yeah, CTL Academy Center for Teaching and Learning says so important to take care of each other. It is us, the teachers, admin staff, including security, cleaners, cooks, all they're a part of our students' lives. Great references to build it. Yeah. Thank you, CTO, for that. I can pull out that there are some other comments right in there. But one of the things that stood out for me, personally, um, it's when you talk about the why, and the role it plays, that's so heavy. I may not understand the work you do, but when I look at the District of Columbia, I don't know how many teachers you get to deal with. I don't know the numbers, but um I love the fact that you were able to open up, practically what happens in there, because when it comes to leadership, people are always looking for something very practical. And I also love the fact that you gave those books. That was powerful.
Yeah.
For me, that's another secret you just opened up. That one of the secrets to successful leadership is lifelong learning. You just told everyone listening that indirectly, that you need to just keep doing that. Nobody needs to tell us. It's very clear that one of your secrets, as a successful leader is the fact that you read.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and the serious topics, because I think if we think about culturally inclusive pedagogy, that's a hard one, and adaptive leadership is something that we aspire to, but we can't have that unless we are able to face those tough choices that we have to make personally, and then when we're dealing with multiple personalities. So I think, yes, definitely empowering ourselves with material that comes from professionals is a good way to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough for putting all of this together, for sharing the wealth of your experience, the wealth of your knowledge with us as an exceptional school leader. Again, one of the things we want to do in this conference is to celebrate individuals. Apart from the fact that we invited you to speak here, we want to celebrate individuals who are doing great and exceptional work. We know what it is. It's very heavy to disrupt the traditional system. It's hard work. It's tough. But we have individuals who are saying, "Hey, we're going to stay here. We're going to do this. We're going to make it happen." And one of them is the person we have right here with us, Shirley Anderson. Thank you so much for all you do. This conference celebrating you and your hard work and everything you're putting into school development right here in the district of public schools in Colombia. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been an honor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, we're coming after you after this conference. You can be sure about that. We're coming after you. All right. So thank you once again for joining us. We'll surely stay connected. Yeah, yeah. So Teresa, that was powerful. That was powerful. Yeah, it keeps getting more and more heavier in this conference. From the school spotlight, from Shireen, powerful to Namia, mind blowing, and then to yeah, and then to Shelley, so powerful, so full of wisdom and many things that school leaders need to latch on. And then we are moving into another school spotlight. We have Claire with us. One of the things we want to show is that in this conference is to again want to show what is possible. People need to see
Yes.
what is possible. People need to see what is possible. There are questions. People need to see models that have worked, and then also how they worked, and that greatly influenced how we reached out to the speakers for this conference. And that's why you're going to be hearing from Claire shortly, from the School of Humanity. I remember the first time I saw the name School of Humanity on LinkedIn, I was like, what's this School of Humanity? What does that mean? I was like, what does that mean? Scared, so I had to move close and then started
It's
following
like, what are the
closely.
rest of us doing?
Exactly. So I had to, I, I had to move close and started following, and I was like, wow, this is great. This is huge. This is huge. So Claire is the Chief Learning Officer at School of Humanity. A breakthrough online high school that reimagines how and what we learn in order to equip the next generation to create an exciting future for themselves and for humanity. At School of Humanity, instead of exams, students learn through real-world projects. Instead of a standardized curriculum, they learn through personalized learning journeys. Instead of memorization, they focus on developing skills, network, and portfolios. Students learn by tackling global challenges while receiving personalized mentorship from global experts. Every learner participates in timely internships with pioneering organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to bring to the podium Claire from the School of Humanity. Claire, how are you doing today? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, thank you. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing
Hi,
very well too.
Clay.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really exciting to be part of this conference. So yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, awesome. So Claire, we're gonna leave the stage. I'm sure our audience can't wait to see what School of Humanity is all about. What School of Humanity, what happens in there, what happens with kids. I really cannot wait to see what you have to share with us right now. So once again, thank you for joining us, Claire. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Adebayo. Okay, I'm going to just share my screen. All right, so welcome everybody to the School of Humanity. We are the high school for the world. My name is Claire Evans. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at School of Humanity. My experience is as a science educator. I was trained as a science teacher originally, worked in the UK and in Belgium before moving to Chile, where I live now. When we moved to Chile, I kind of made the active decision to not go back into traditional high schools and instead kind of paved a way working in educational projects. I then founded my own organization called Yo Invento, which was an invention education program, really focusing on developing young people's the four key skills, essentially: the communication, critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, creating inventions and prototypes and sharing them. And I founded an online STEM academy as well before moving to School of Humanity, where I work as the Chief Learning Officer. So I'd like you just to have a little think about this statement. So we're trying to educate students today so that they are prepared to solve future problems that have not yet been identified using technologies not yet invented, based on scientific knowledge not yet discovered. So it's so changeable. The future landscape, the future professional landscape is so changeable. As we know, how can we prepare our young people for that future? To reinforce that, a statement from the World Economic Forum: 65% of the jobs that students today will be doing in the future do not exist yet. And just to have a little think, what jobs exist today that did not exist 2 years ago? Just if anybody's got any idea, you can put it in the chat. So I actually, rather than Googling it, I chat GPT'd this just to have a look to see what sort of jobs actually existed today. Things that are changing, new things, just to kind of reinforce this idea of this landscape just being so volatile and changing and evolving all the time. So a few ideas. So remote work coordinator, chief remote officer, of course, following the pandemic, working remotely has become a lot more prolific. And so organizations are having to, create these new roles to adapt to that changing work modality. Got metaverse designers, algorithm bias auditors, NFT consultants, working in the kind of much more sort of technical roles, looking at climate change and sustainability. We've got sustainability managers, circular economy specialists, just to give a few examples. And then something which I think is very important, of course, and I think everybody here will agree, roles in education that are kind of adapting to the all of this AI that's being developed, AI education specialist, AI ethics educator, AI curriculum developer, just to name a few. Of course, there are many, many more. So this is just in the last 2 years or so. So just imagine how everything will continue to change. So how can we best prepare our young people for this changing landscape? What can we do to help them be ready to find employment in the future and to help them to thrive? So there's really three possible approaches that we've identified, and really what we need to do is a combination of all three. So the first is forecasting the future, where we try to predict what jobs will exist and then to prepare young people for those jobs. That's obviously looking at trends and looking at technology and things, looking at research and seeing where things are going. Remaining adaptable, and this is really a key part of everything that we do, is helping young people to develop transferable skills, so things that will help them regardless of the job that they actually end up working in. Skills such as learning how to learn, being able to upskill, being able to adapt, and not being overwhelmed by new technology, for example, but instead knowing how to go about learning and upskilling to adapt to new technologies as they come in. Creating the future, so this is key as well. applying our imagination to create the future that we want to see for the world, and giving young people the skills and the confidence to know that they can do that. They can create their future. They can be change makers. They can really, have the power to do that. So I'd like to tell you about School of Humanity. This is the case study of School of Humanity today, and to show you a little bit about how we are doing these three things. So the School of Humanity was founded by Raya Vichari, who was voted one of the top most influential women. She is a serial education entrepreneur and has won many awards, also 3-time BET Award nominee. And Raya actually founded School of Humanity through her own frustrations with her education, finding that, there were things lacking, or she wasn't learning in the way that she wanted to be, or that was inspiring, or kind of stimulating her to want to learn more, and found that there was a need for something more future focused, and came to the decision to start School of Humanity. School of Humanity started in May 2021. And the mission is to enable the next generation to create a purposeful future for themselves and for humanity. And the vision is to reinvent our global education systems to better serve humanity. So we currently offer 2 programs. We have a full-time high school, which was launched in September 2022. Our founding cohort, we had 20 learners from 10 different countries, and we are growing. So it's a high school that is growing. So as we go into the second academic year, we have 35 plus learners from 15 countries, 2 cohorts. We also have a summer school. So we're currently running the summer school at the moment, where we have 85 learners from 31 different countries in their 5-week full-time program. So this is just to show you the countries where we have learners. So I really reason I wanted to share the map is to show the global nature of the program and the importance of building cultural competence. So the learners, they obviously meet each other through their cohorts, through their online learning. They learn how to collaborate with each other. They learn how to manage technical difficulties, sometimes connectivity issues, sometimes they have time zone issues, and they have to, find how to communicate and how to across borders and time zones and cultures. And it's very culturally enriching and really helps them to become globally and culturally competent. So how are we different from traditional schools? Well, as Adebayo mentioned at the beginning, instead of rote memorization, it's very much based on project-based assessments. We help learners to develop portfolios where they create their assignments, their work, their projects. We don't focus on exam scores, but rather, again, on developing projects, on developing skills and mindsets and tracking credits. Rather than teaching in isolated subjects, the curriculum is interdisciplinary, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Well, we have live sessions where learners interact with each other in a fixed schedule. That we have 50% of the learning is asynchronous and therefore is flexible. The schedules are flexible with time which is dedicated to flow, personalized pathways, and we have active mentorship from industry leaders and a very strong education or network of educators supporting our learners. So the supplementary educational program is accredited, and we're on the path to high school accreditation. We're also on the part of the Mastery Transcript Consortium, and I'd like to talk more about that now. So what is mastery-based learning? And I don't know if that's something that anybody wants to respond to in the chat, but I will, of course, tell you more about it now. So mastery-based learning is really a way of helping learners develop skills and for them to develop mastery in a skill. It's very much focused on personalized and self-directed learning. So learners really take ownership of their learning journey. They identify where they have gaps, where they have skills that they need to be working on, where there are certain key areas that they want to be developing, and they work at their own pace to develop mastery of that particular subject or skill. The mastery transcript looks something like this. So it's a very visual way of showing what skills that a young person has developed. It's a very holistic approach, so it really covers all of the different areas rather than having exam grades, for example. It just shows the level or the mastery in particular skills. And something that's really important is that it is accompanied by a portfolio of evidence. And this is curated by the learners, so they are active players in choosing which assignments or which projects they want to display or they want to evidence in their portfolio. Currently, over 300 universities do recognise the mastery transcript, and that number is growing. But we are conscious of the fact that maybe some traditional universities or more conservative universities may still need a more traditional transcript. So part of the process at School of Humanities to make sure that all of our learning outcomes, everything that's covered in our curriculum, is actually benchmarked against a traditional transcript, and that conversion can take place if a learner does need that. That's something that we can help and support learners with. So the mastery-based learning is something which is being adopted by more and more schools around the world. And this is just to give a few examples of other schools who do use this approach to assessment and to transcripts. So, for example, there's the Agora School in the Netherlands, there's Nouveau School in Boston, and Think Global School, which is a global traveling high school. And they have been using the mastery transcript with very successful results. So our curriculum is based on something which we call the Human Literacies Framework. And this has been developed with our team of learning designers and learning architects, and is informed by the current research by the OECD, the World Economic Forum, for example. And it's based on these 6 pillars that we call the human literacies. So these are flourishing, thought, action, society, discovery, and creativity. And within each literacy, it's subdivided into credit areas. So as learners are working on assignments, they will be accumulating skills or developing their skills, developing, again, this mastery towards these different literacy areas within each skills. And so every time they submit a project or they submit an assignment, they will identify what skills they have developed through doing that assignment, and then they can really track their progress, track their learning journey, and have, again, this word ownership over their learning journey. So the way that we approach the curriculum is that we are challenge-based learning. And what does that mean, to be challenge-based learning? So many people are familiar, I imagine, with project-based learning, and challenge-based learning is very similar, although has a few structural differences. So essentially, the challenge-based learning is an approach which allows for learners to develop deep and meaningful learning while solving real-world challenges. So it's not theoretical, they're actually diving into a challenge and exploring how they can do something about it and make a change to that. It follows a very specific structure, which I'm going to talk more about right now in a moment. So these are some of the examples of challenges that we run, and the way that it works is that learners will choose a challenge that they work on over the course of the entire term. So, for example, they might choose to do designing space habitats, and so that will be their focus over the course of the term. But again, remember, it's interdisciplinary, so although the theme is designing space habitats, within that they will be looking at things like geometry, where they're looking at how to design, a geodesic dome on Mars, for example. Or they might look at psychology, where they're exploring what it would be to travel to Mars over 2 years, for example. What is the psychology that would go into that? What would the social structure be with a community on Mars or on the moon or wherever it might be? So they really explore it from an interdisciplinary lens and look at it from different perspectives and develop different disciplines and skills as they work on that challenge. The way that the term is divided up, the learners will begin to engage with the challenge initially, where they are really exploring it. So again, looking at these different things that I just mentioned, engaging with the challenge. What does it mean? How can we look at it from different perspectives and incorporate the different disciplines? They then go into a phase called the investigate phase, which is where they explore the sub-challenges. They actually identify something that they are particularly interested in based on all the groundwork that they did in the engage phase, where they really got to know the challenge and kind of explored it. Then they can identify an area that they are really interested in, that they feel passionate about, and that they want to develop into a problem statement, which they'll then go on to solve, or at least to tackle, in the act phase. We say they're tackling the challenge. It's not an expectation that they solve everything, but that they explore how they could actually tackle that challenge. What could they do, or what could be done to tackle that particular challenge? Following the act phase, they will go into a micro internship phase, which I'll talk more about a little bit later, but it basically gives them the opportunity to actually work with a real organization. And then finally, at the end, they reflect on their learning journey, and they will show their achievements and their challenges and their presentations in a global showcase. So in addition to the challenge, we talk about the learning being personalized, and one of the key areas how this is personalized is that learners can choose to work on skill units. So as they work through the term, they'll be looking at their challenge following that defined structure that I just shared with you. But in addition to that, they also have asynchronous learning, where they are working on skill units. So the skill units will help them to develop the skills they need to help them with their challenge. For example, we have hard skills and soft skills, depending on what they need in that moment. So there is this part of the program is very flexible. They can really choose what skills they want to be working on and developing. And again, it goes into the whole mastery transcript and tracking of their credit, so they can identify where they might have gaps in their learning. For example, they might have a gap in the discovery literacy, and so they decide they need to do something like biotechnology fundamentals, which is kind of a science-based skill unit, so that will help them build credit towards their discovery literacy. A key component of our curriculum is the human flourishing, and this is really integrated to all parts of the curriculum. But in addition to that, we have a specific or a dedicated hour a week, which is dedicated to the human flourishing session. This is where we really help the learners to reach their full potential, helping them to with a heightened sense of well-being, social emotional learning, personal growth and development. It helps to give them a sense of purpose and really give them a toolkit to help them become happy, flourishing individuals, helping them to find their meaning and purpose in their lives. So with this will include things like developing a growth mindset and focusing on breath and exploring mindfulness, and things like this, to name just a few of the themes covered in human flourishing. We also run a skills lab. So the skills lab is helping learners to develop the key skills they need to effectively work on their assignments. So looking at things like effective essay writing, or how to write a scientific paper, or even how to carry out research. How can they do that the most effectively? And how can they use the tools at their disposal? So carrying out research, what can they use to help them carry out their research? How can they verify their sources? Things like that. So giving them those skills to help them then do their assignments. A key part of our program is the Pathway Advisory. So in the Pathway Advisory sessions, again, all of these sessions are once a week. In the Pathway Advisory, we look at how to discover, how to write a portfolio, how to write a resume, personal branding, how to think about the sort of universities they might want to go on to, or if they don't want to go to university, what might a different track be if they want to go into entrepreneurship or whatever that might be, like helping them identify what it is that they want to be doing as they move through their school career, graduate, and then what will they want to move on to. So future pathways. Really, we help them develop a personal learning plan, so they have one-to-one sessions with an advisor who really helps them to really identify where they're going, where they're moving in their future, and what do they need to get there. Again, what skills do they need to be developing, what credit areas do they need to be building, and so on and so forth. So we have, again, weekly mentorship sessions as well. So while they are working on a challenge, they will be, as I mentioned at the beginning, they engage with a challenge, then they investigate, and then they act on their to design a solution. They have that whole process is guided by facilitators. So the facilitators will work with them in their core workshops, will help them to develop out all of those different stages of the program. But once a week, they also meet with an industry expert. So I mentioned the Designing Space Habitat Challenge. In that challenge, for example, we had somebody who was an aerospatial engineer who joined us as an industry expert. So they can really help the learners deep dive into the content of the challenge they're working on. They can answer kind of content-specific questions and really help orientate the learners towards finding the resources that they might need, or building the networks, or finding experts to reach out to, for example. So this is a wonderful opportunity for them to really connect with professionals who are working in that area that they are interested in. We also run a micro internship program. So this is just an amazing opportunity for them, again, to connect with real organizations who are, again, aligned with the challenge that they're working on. So this, the background image that we can see here is a challenge that we ran recently in summer school, which is called Future of Education, and they worked with an organization based in London called City as a School. And so that the organization set them a challenge, which is something which they genuinely needed help with, and they genuinely valued the perspective of these young people, this group of young people who would help them to solve this particular challenge that they set them. So they really an experience for the learners to get that hands-on experience. It's a professional situation where they're interacting with real organizations. They learn how to collaborate with each other. This was a team of 7 learners who were in different countries. I think we had a learner in Bolivia, we had learners in Brazil, we had a learner in Pakistan, learners in Nigeria. So, they had to learn how to collaborate with each other, how to set meetings, and and divide tasks as well. Who was going to do what, how were they going to present, who was going to design the presentation, so on and so forth. So it's a really wonderful experience for the learners to develop those key skills. So at the end of each program, we have a global showcase, and in the global showcase is an opportunity for the learners to celebrate their achievements. Again, they're developing more skills as they learn how to do public speaking. The global showcases are open to the public. We actually have a showcase coming up next week. If anybody is interested, I'll share more information at the end. That's the showcase which is celebrating the achievements and the work of the learners who have been participating in our summer school. And at the end of each term, the learners from the high school will present their challenge solutions or their micro internship projects in the global showcase. For the high school, we have a parent community as well. We meet regularly with the parents to keep them updated and just generate a sense of community. They are, pivotal players in the whole process, and they, help us sometimes, like to orientate what we're doing, to give us feedback. We're very agile and very adaptive to the needs of our community. So, that's an integral part of the process, is having the parents participate in decisions and decision making, and giving us feedback and evaluating the program. So that's an important part of the process as well. So I'd also like to talk to you about the hybrid learning hub. So this is something which we actually launched at the beginning of this year. And we have a hub which is in Dubai and another hub which is in Bristol. So of course, we really want to value hybrid learning. So while the high school and the summer school is a global online program, we also value, of course, the in-person and the interactive and the experiential learning aspect as well. So the hybrid hub is a model where learners participate with the online program, but in addition to that, they have access to a co-learning space. They sometimes join the online sessions from the co-learning space, and then following the session, they can interact with their peers. There's a facilitator on site who can support them with the post-session activities or their project development, for example. We also have Friday is a day where it's a flow day, so we don't have any live sessions on a Friday. And on this day in the hub, there are workshops and there are excursions. It's a wonderful opportunity for learners to actually meet each other and interact. So it kind of, they get that aspect as well. So they're getting that interactivity. If you are interested to learn more, we've got a lot of the showcasing of the learners' work on our website. So you can have a look there. There's examples of the learners presenting in the showcase, presenting their solutions. So a whole range of different projects. So I invite you to have a look at the website and to explore the catalogue of presentations we have on there. And as I mentioned before, we have the Summer School Showcase, which is coming next week. That is on the 18th of August, next Friday. It's at 2 o'clock GMT. And if you would like to register, I'm sure I can share the link later in the chat, but it's you would need to go to Luma/Summer Showcase. And of course, the applications for the high school are open. The high school will start the academic year in September the 11th. So the applications are open. I'm just sharing that with you in case you are interested, and just it's relevant there. And then we're always happy to answer questions and explore ways to collaborate. So please do reach out to us at any time. And of course, you can reach out to me via email at claire@sofhumanity.com. I'm very happy to answer any questions and to dive deeper into any aspect of the School of Humanity model if you are curious to learn more.
Yeah, thank you so much, Claire. Okay, let me bring up Teresa so that we can do this real quick. Thank you so much, Claire. When you showed the website, and then you were showing the project of students around, you just brought something to my mind. Conventionally, you visit a school's website, you really see um, yeah, you really see authentic things like that. You probably just see some things about the school, what's going on in the classroom, but that again, that just shows a high level kind of outcome, as regards what school can look like right now. So schools are becoming like innovation hubs. School are becoming like incubators. When we talk about incubators today, what it means for startups, what it means for entrepreneurs today, we see school taking that shape, and we see this kind of outcomes, and it's so amazing, so amazing. Okay, yeah. So I think I also understand better what the School of Humanities is all about now. This presentation gives me a better insight into what it looks like. And again, looking at what our world is looking like, how the world is, increasingly becoming more and more interconnected, the rise of remote and the emergence of companies with distributed workforce, and the kind of access, advantage, opportunity it brings to the table. I think this is really great. You talked about kids from various places, coming together to collaborate, to discuss about ideas and to try to cook up things, and that's so amazing. I think that's where school needs to be right now. Teresa, do you agree with me?
Oh, absolutely. I think right at the beginning, the idea that was created is that this is definitely the kind of this disruptive education system that we're looking for, something that speaks to the future and that prepares learners for the future. Because I think that's one of the things that we recognize is that we cannot keep doing things in the same way, and still expect to be preparing learners for the future. So it's very inspirational to see a model that works towards that. And I think that there's some interest in how you go about things. I think if we just go to the chat over there, Pearl's Garden School made a comment that active mentorship from industry leaders, that's relevant knowledge. I think that was in response to the question that you've asked there. And also how mastery based learning allows a child to grow dexterity in one before moving to the next. And if one considers your model, I think that's exactly what you are going for, and also aligning what learners are inclined to, as opposed to what curriculum prescribes us to do. So thank you so much. That's inspiration. I think also they
Hmm.
are interested in a template of the mastery based transcript. So I think if you will just want to address that, that's one of the requests there from the chat.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to connect and to discuss it with them. We actually have our own system where we have a credit tracking system, which is then transferred across to the Mastery Transcript Consortium, so that learners get the Mastery transcript at the end of the year. And then finally, ultimately, when they graduate from university, from the School of Humanity, then they will get the transcript, which they can use to apply to university and so on. But in terms of do it at School of Humanity, is throughout the year we have a credit tracking system. So for every assignment that the learners work on, they upload that to the credit tracking system, and they indicate the skill areas that they've worked on their assignment, and then that will go into the tracking, and it's all accumulated and builds on throughout the year, and then that is across to the mastery transcript. In terms of a template, I'm not sure that's something that I would be able to give, because it's the template is within the mastery transcript website, but I would encourage you to have a look and explore that, the mastery transcript website, and very happy to connect and to kind of dive deeper into how we do our system, if that's something that's of interest.
I think that's
Yeah.
definitely something that we can organize. So Paul's Garden School, thank you for your requests over there. As you can see, you are welcome to contact her and you guys can connect. Thank you so much. That was very interesting. I definitely am in awe.
Yeah,
Thank you
powerful.
so much.
Thank you so much, Claire. Yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. Again, I believe our audience has seen what is possible. The idea again is to show you what is possible, and so that you can go for it. It's going to be a journey, but you just have to go for it. This is where K-12 is today. These are possibilities, and we cannot afford to be left behind as we talk about quality education globally and everywhere. Thank you so much, Claire, for your time. You're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are gradually coming to the end of day one. So this has been a great journey. This has been a great journey. School models for the society and economy of 2030 and beyond. Let's do a quick recap, and then we are getting set to wrap up for today. Um, if you joined late, never mind. The recording is available, so you can watch the recording from LinkedIn or you watch from YouTube at your convenience, right? Technology has made it easy. We don't need to bother about things. There's no problem. So you can watch at your convenience, take your time. These are the kind of this is the kind of meeting you attend, and you really want to take time to meditate and think about, how this information, how it affects what you're doing currently, and the next one, two, three, four, five steps you need to take to move things forward. The goal of this conference is to move you forward. Everyone listening, everyone that gets to listen to it later, the idea of this conference is to move everyone forward, right? We need to move forward into new realms of possibilities. You need to be ready to try something new, and you have a support group, you have a network that can support you in the journey. Just like Shirley was talking about, everyone needs a support group. When people get on that journey, they often don't get the kind of support they need, and so they can drive it to the end. So this is a time to network. You see, everybody there has, if you on LinkedIn, we have more than 100 comments there. A lot of people have come, some join, had to leave and all of that. Everyone that has come, these are people you need to connect with. These are people you need to network with. We need to start synergizing and start bringing together what we're doing together. And then, that way we're able to push things forward, wherever we find ourselves, in your space, in your classroom, in your school. And then on the long run, we are now seeing an emergence of a new school order, a new kind of school that where learning is for social impact. That's very dear to our heart. We don't want to see schools that don't have effect on the society anymore, right? K to 12 has gone beyond that. Has gone beyond that. The valuation of K to 12 right now is much more higher than that. It's no longer a pride, like I would say. If you are raising kids who are passing exams and are doing very well, it's no longer a pride. It's on a global scale, it's not respected. That's the truth. So don't brag about it. It's no longer a pride. What is a pride? Is that your students or your school community has an impact, a direct impact on the society. And when we say that education is the most powerful, I mean, is a weapon that can transform the word, that's what we're talking about, that kind of learning that transcends to social impact. Because when we disconnect the whole experience from the society, right, it becomes of no value. Because we have seen that over and over again, and that's one of the things that this conference is trying to address. You can see all of our speakers, if you watch them closely, the message is quite similar. The message is really quite similar. The message is that school has gone beyond what it used to be. There's a need for being future forward. There's a need to put your eyes on the future and try to connect the present with the future. So Teresa, let me catch your thoughts, even as we trying to wrap up today.
Yes, I agree with you, and I think for the two of us, this is an exciting moment because so much of what we spoke about right at the beginning of our journey, I think so much of that has just been showcased today, and I think you can go back and think about all of the interactions that we had with so many professionals, people from all walks of life in different aspects of education, and I think that's probably what underlines all of this. It's experience and partnerships, which is what we'd like to promote. We have people with experience, we have people with talent, we have people with certain skill sets, we have people with contacts. So the platform that we are creating through this conference is one way we share not only what we are capable of, but we get to celebrate what people already are doing. And I think it is so important that we do that and showcase what's happening out there and encourage our listeners, our audience, people who are watching this. It is an absolute must to dream big, because what you have seen here today also started just as an idea for each one of our participants. But to me, I think Namia is the most inspirational. If you think of everything that she has embarked on and successfully achieved, I think in one of the program she was speaking about, her words were simple: plan, record, edit, publish. Simple. Those were her words. So I think that She made it sound so easy, and I'm listening to everything that she's able to do and that she does, and I'm thinking, where do you find the time? But I guess that is the spirit that we need to embrace. We've got some valuable information from Shirley and Claire, so we need to utilize the information, connect, ask questions, exchange, and
Hmm.
that's the culture we're trying to create over here. So thank you to everybody who has joined, and thank you to everybody who has presented. This is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, this is indeed powerful. This is indeed powerful. So again, this is day one, right? So day two happens tomorrow. Just a quick, insight into tomorrow is going to be heavier. I tell you, like really, you don't want to miss tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be so heavy, so heavy. So we have an HR expert coming on the conference tomorrow. Talking about connecting the dot between school, the society, and workplace. If we don't speak with an HR on this conference is not complete. So we need to exemplify what we're talking about. The more we understand the workplace and the demands, and what the workplace is asking for, is very important in what K-12 is doing to today. Right, so we have an HR expert and someone that is interested in education, coming to speak to us tomorrow. We have Tom, the pioneer of project-based learning, right? Is a mentor, a big one when it comes to project-based learning. Is going to be with us tomorrow. It's going to be so powerful. We have Mari. Mari is going to be with us tomorrow too as well. Mari is big on instructional design. We're going to be talking about from lesson plans to learning designs, the instructional design approach to teaching in the elementary school. Mari is going to be taking us on that journey. That's going to be powerful and mind blowing. All right. Yeah, that's going to be happening tomorrow. And there's a parent session tomorrow as well. And we have the learner spotlight for tomorrow. We have a young boy, Opamipo, a year 10 student. He's going to be showing us some amazing and terrific projects that he has worked on, schooling in Canada. He's going to be with us in the conference tomorrow. It's going to be another great time. Please join us same time tomorrow, by 12 p.m. West African time, Lagos time. We look forward to receiving every one of you again tomorrow. Many thanks to everyone that has joined. We look forward to doing this again together with you tomorrow. And more importantly, we look forward to seeing the great moves, the new things that you begin to do, from the impartation, from the energy, from the momentum that you have received, from this conference. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
yeah, so we are going to